Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy Mueller Eve.
Hey, happy Mueller Eve, Crudy. So excited. Huge show today, but a big day tomorrow.
It will be a really, really big day in the history of radio and this fine little radio station. You know, both of them, all three of them. Dom, reportedly, Donald Trump on the eve of special counsel Robert Mueller's testimony, reportedly by CNN. He's irritated, yeah. Not anxious, just irritated.
Yes, can't believe Mueller's getting another bite at the apple. Just a little irritated. We'll see how good he can compartmentalize.
Now, Dominic, anyone unaware, and we just started promoting this because this is obviously a little bit new, we will be covering the special counsel Robert Mueller testimony bell to bell tomorrow. And to make sure we don't miss any of it, Dom, we're going to get a special Muellertime wake and bake pre-political party special with the Devil's Advocates. We're going live at like 7 a.m., Dom.
Wait, 7 a.m.?
Yes.
Oh.
Did you get the memo?
Yes, Crudy, special edition. Yes, we have to. We'll do it. We're going to do it live at 7. I don't think we've been up this early on the radio, Crudy, since the inaugural broadcast of 1510 in Milwaukee.
Since the day we came out of the test patterns, sign on with a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
There's a reason we do afternoon drive.
Yes, absolutely. Not exactly morning people. No. Maybe it's the propensity to the waking and baking.
Well, I don't mind getting up in the morning. It's getting the brain and the mouth working that early.
Like it works at 3 in the afternoon for you, fella.
More like 5:30, I think I peak.
So, anyways, once again, Talk 92.7, WTTN 1580, and of course, WRD 1510 AM, the flagship, Dom, on all three stations. We will partner with Westwood One News, and we will gavel-to-gavel coverage, 2 congressional hearings tomorrow. And we'll have it all, Dom, and we'll give the people a little dose of the Devil's Advocates early in the morning, the pregame show, and then my understanding, Robert Mueller's testimony, somewhere very close to 7:30 a.m. he'll go off. It's like an early tea time.
It is. The Earl Ingram Show will be off tomorrow. Again, Crudy and I will start it off at 7 o'clock to 7:30 before we turn it over to Westwood One. And I believe the same for the Forum with Sherwin Hughes. He's going to do a pass as well.
Great. Thanks for announcing that on the air. So, anyways, we are preempting the morning, guys. Sorry, guys,
but thank you.
It's history in the making. It's Mueller time, Tom. So we'll start at 7. We'll run till approximately 1 p.m. with anchored Westwood One news coverage. And then Devil's Advocates at 3. And our boy Jim Santel coming around about 4:30 tomorrow, Tom. The former U.S. attorney, fine friend of ours. He has been our Mueller time resource all throughout. Since the appointment of the special counsel, I would say, Dom. So can't wait to see some sort of resolution, at least to the word getting out on the Mueller report, Tom. And will you bring your copy? Yours is all online. You've got it digital, right?
I have 2 separate PDFs for each volume. I can search by words on these PDFs. So I'm raring to go. I had to pull it up today to educate some folks because, you know, that's what we need to do sometimes. And I'm very excited, but I'm also a little concerned. You know, remember Al Capone's vault with Geraldo Rivera and the bottle?
Yeah, I was watching.
Right?
Merica was watching. Lots and lots of people watching. That was a visual product. Went on for hours. When they found that old bottle, I'm like, maybe he's onto something now. And last I heard, Geraldo was still digging. They're still looking. We'll keep looking.
But the good news is we all remember that. The bad news is there was nothing really that came of it. And while I'm confident that those objectively listening to the testimony and or maybe following along in the Mueller report, that they'll see that Trump has been a very bad man. And once they see that, perhaps they'll change their minds on impeachment, but it also could be the Capone vault.
Dom, are you concerned there will be no there? Because there's plenty of there in the Mueller report. You've read it. You've scanned it. You've searched
have,
it.
yes. I understand what's in, my concerns are the circumstances of the circus, right? So you have DOJ coming out last night saying, Mueller, stay within the lines. You can't do this. You can't do that. Of course, Mueller doesn't work for DOJ anymore. But we also know that Mueller, when he gave his 9 minutes commentary in the past, that he said he doesn't want to testify, and any testimony he would provide would stay within the framework of the report. So I'm not clear what exactly will come out, but I have some questions, and I'm hopeful that the Dems will use their time wisely. I am less hopeful that the Republicans give a damn about finding out to what degree of involvement this president, this administration, the campaign had with regards to the Russian conspiracy and, of course, the 5 to 10 instances of obstruction.
And, Dominic, we've got some breaking news on the Muellertime front. Political reporting, Mueller scrambles hearing by tapping top deputy as counsel. What's he doing? I don't know.
The attorney's getting an attorney.
Kyle Cheney and Andrew Desiderio at the Politico, Robert Mueller's top deputy, will appear alongside him as his counsel for his highly anticipated testimony on Wednesday, according to a committee source familiar with the preparations. A last-minute move that Republicans are panning as a breach of House rules that could jeopardize the hearings altogether.
Oh, my God.
Now we can never get to the bottom of the Mueller report because, he wants an attorney?
He wants counsel present? Really?
Republicans said Democrats' decisions to allow Aaron Zebley to accompany Mueller at the former special counsel's request represents a breach of their tentative negotiations. Georgia Rep. Doug Collins, the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, called the move a stunt and said it could jeopardize whether tomorrow's hearing complies with the rules of the House. Harumph. If Democrats believe it is the special counsel's responsibility to testify to his report, they have no ground for outsourcing that duty at the expense of our committee's integrity, Collins said.
Collins,
I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Is Collins suggesting that Mueller should show up to testify under oath without counsel?
Apparently, it's a breach. Somebody's breaking the rules. Where's Devin Nunes when you need him?
Yeah, right?
Mueller spokesman Jim Popkin on Monday said he didn't know yet who would be joining the former special counsel at the hearing, let alone if anyone would be seated with him at the witness table. Popkin did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Tuesday. Both Zebley and James Quarles, another Mueller deputy, were initially expected to testify before both the Judiciary and Intelligence Committees behind closed doors. But those sessions were called off amid opposition from Attorney General William Barr. Well, he rears his ugly head again, Dom. Barr said that Mueller's deputies should not testify, and he suggested that the Justice Department would move to block them from appearing if committees issue subpoenas to compel their testimony. It is unclear whether the Justice Department will try to disrupt Wednesday's arrangement. You want to bet? I bet they will. I bet before the end of the show we see some court filing trying to block Mueller from bringing his former deputy as counsel. I bet. I'm just predicting.
Now, why would they want to block any testimony that is so obviously proves no collusion and no obstruction as
full
the
vindication, exoneration? Bring it on.
Bring them all, line them up out the door. We want to have everybody say what an innocent man and how wrongly accused this president has been.
Well, Dominic, the move threatens to further inflame tensions between the Justice Department and House Democrats. Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler on Tuesday blasted President Donald Trump's Justice Department as incredibly arrogant, that's a direct quote, for instructing Mueller to limit the scope of his scheduled testimony Wednesday before the Judiciary and Intelligence panels. But the New York Democrat predicted that the Justice Department's Monday directive would not affect Wednesday's highly anticipated pair of hearings with the former special counsel. I quote, "I don't think it's much of an impediment simply because Bob Mueller had indicated repeatedly he was going to do exactly that," Nadler said on CNN. "I think it's incredibly arrogant of the department to try and instruct him as to what to say. It's a part of the ongoing cover-up by the administration to keep information away from the American people, but I think that's not going to have a real impact. We'll see, I guess, Tom."
Crudy, Mueller has stated that his 448-page report is my testimony and that he does not intend to speak about topics that were not already made public, presenting Democrats with a challenge when Mueller testifies before the House Judiciary and Intelligence panels. And, of course, we will carry that live here tomorrow starting at 7:30. And on Monday, the Justice Department told Mueller that his testimony must remain within the boundaries of your public report because the president has asserted executive privilege over the investigation's underlying evidence, Politico first reported. Nadler said on Tuesday that Democratic lawmakers have been operating under the assumption that he'll essentially do what he said. He'll stay more or less within the bounds of the report. But the chairman also said Mueller does not have to comply with the Justice Department directives. He doesn't work for them, Nadler said. And that letter asks things that are beyond the power of agency to ask, even if he still worked for them.
You know, I wonder if Nadler would like him to respond, "I don't work for you, nana."
Right. Despite the Justice Department's letter to Mueller, it is unlikely that the department will insist on having a lawyer in the room during Mueller's testimony to lodge objections to certain questions, essentially relying on Mueller to self-police his remarks. Mueller is known to strictly adhere to Justice Department guidelines, and Democrats do not expect him to deviate from that posture. In May, Trump asserted executive privilege over Mueller's entire report and underlying materials. The move came after the Judiciary Committee issued a subpoena for the unredacted report and all evidence underpinning it, and the Justice Department's defiance of that subpoena led the panel to hold Barr in contempt of Congress. Democrats are eager to ask Mueller several questions about his investigation and his legal conclusions, including whether he would have charged Trump with obstruction of justice if he were not the president, a reference to Justice Department policy that prohibits the indictment of a sitting president. While Mueller is unlikely to answer that question directly, Politico writes, Democrats say there are other ways to illuminate Mueller's decision not to formally accuse the president of committing a crime. The Judiciary Committee, Crudy, expected to focus on 5 specific episodes of potential obstruction of justice, ones that, according to Mueller, met all 3 elements required for an obstruction charge.
Dominic, House Democrats are planning an all-out messaging blitz over the next few days, blanketing social media with excerpts of Mueller's report and real-time clips from the hearing. It's an effort to amplify any of the material Mueller gives them and line it up with the most damaging details of his report. Democrats have also put together a 5-page set of talking points for their colleagues who aren't as deeply immersed in the Mueller report, distilling Mueller's dense findings into a digestible summary they can use to help spread the caucus-wide message. Well, don't forget, get up early, set your alarm. The pregame Wake and Bake edition of the Devil's Advocate starts tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And then Mueller, special counsel's live congressional testimony, that's going to go off about 7:30 a.m. right here. WRD 1510 a.m. Talk 92.7. Dom, this is exactly why I own radio stations. I'm so freaking excited. Want to talk about it with you? Come back with us. 844-967-2789. The phones, they're open and toll-free.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
What's your prediction?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain. I didn't get a harumph out of that guy.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 a.m. Milwaukee. Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
County Executive Chris Avery has declared racism a public health crisis, but he cuts the bus route for mostly black families driven mostly by black drivers.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Avery at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support and transit workers local 998 and ask him why is he making this public health crisis worse.
The Packing House, open every day of the year for dinner, including all holidays. Family owned and operated since 1974, lunch Monday through Friday, live music Wednesday through Saturday. Enjoy steaks, ribs, seafood, fish fries, and prime rib. Easy access from anywhere, across from the airport on Layton. Find us online, packinghousemke.com, or give us a call, 414-483-5054.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Listen to This is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This is Progress on WRRD 1510 a.m.
Radio has changed our lives and possibly saved our lives. Radio has changed our lives and possibly saved our lives.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio, and you can always join us on the phones, talk or text. Toll free, the political party line is 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I think we have a new analogy to help the audience understand the Trump's presidency and its effect on the entire American public. The Trump presidency is Merica on meth, Dom.
Yes, science.
Raw Story reports Tanya Geneva on Tuesday, President Donald Trump spoke before Turning Point USA. I understand. So off the rails, Dom. Fox News broke away from the president's live speech. He was off script, let's just say.
Today?
Yeah, earlier today. President Trump spoke before Turning Point USA, a right-wing group primarily composed of young people. As expected, Trump went off on another rant about the squad, going so far as to falsely suggest that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is an anti-Semite, even as some members of his party have cautioned Trump about targeting the four lawmakers. He continued to ramp up his attacks, writing in the Bulwark, Dom, and you're now, on their email list?
I had to get the last paragraph that was missing from the Raw Story.
Writing in the Bulwark, conservative columnist Jonathan B. Last wonders if Trump is a symptom of or an aggravating factor of our rage-filled times. He highlights a reader's letter who makes the point that Trump is both a symptom of our angry, divisive culture and that he also makes everything worse. The reader EP observes that Trump's brand of politics can be thought of akin to meth addiction. Now I'm going to quote from the reader's letter, Dom. I see Trump as a symptom so powerful that it becomes its own cause, kind of like a political hard drug. Let's pretend that Trump is political meth. Heroin is a more timely analogy, but meth is perhaps more closely associated with rural whites. And like Trump, it makes you want to fight people. He goes on to write, if you're deep in the meth addiction, you've probably lost your job, friends, family, and self-respect. All you have is the meth. This makes you cling even tighter to the very thing that ruined your life because despite its terrible long-term effects, every hit gives you another burst of that sweet, sweet power that first drew you to the drug. The meth doesn't fix your old problems, he says. Whatever problems you had before you got hooked on it, they get bigger. But the meth also creates new problems in entirely different categories, too. Again, the analogy that the Republican Party here seems pretty on point. The metaphor, back to the author's writing, the metaphor extends to the entire GOP, which has done virtually nothing to rein in Trump. The quote, again, Was the GOP's metaphorical descent into meth addiction inevitable? I don't think so. What if Chris Christie hadn't suicide bombed Rubio in that debate? What if the Access Hollywood tape had come out during the primaries? What if Hillary made one more trip through the Midwest? Stop by the Devil's Advocate show. A lot of things could have changed. Maybe the party would have ended up with a less destructive addiction, like political caffeine pills, or maybe it would have gone straight to fentanyl and been dead by now.
Crudy, the final sentence for my email address. So maybe the truth is that Trump is both symptom and aggravating factor. Trump is meth.
The Trump presidency is Merica on meth, Tom.
I get a little itchy. Scabs.
He does have an alleged meth head, or did have an alleged meth head. What? Running his campaign. And then in his cabinet, or at least with some sort of undesignated cabinet level position. Of course, I reference alleged meth head Steve Bannon.
Now, Steve Bannon, alleged meth head. Crudy, why could you say that? What are you talking about?
Well, because apparently Steve Bannon was a meth head back in his Florida days. And got into some kinky stuff and some prostitution, or allegedly did, and apparently took meth. I mean, it looks like a meth head.
He does.
I mean, except the chubby part. The fat part. Don't see a lot of fat guys on meth, do you?
Depends on where they are in the addiction, I guess.
Well, he's moved beyond the addiction, apparently, Dom. Hardly ever sees spiders anymore.
No, well, that's good. But what about the rest of America? Are we all tripping on Trump meth now? Is he going to, pull some Breaking Bad and come up with his own red-colored meth?
I thought it was the good blue meth. I thought it was the ice.
Well, it was, but that's in the show. This is Trump. He's the red hat, man. He's got the red straws and the Heisenberg.
Heisenberg. Oh, yeah. Come back with us. We'll be Breaking Bad. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. Radio, not at all on meth. 844-967-2789.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
You asked me if I was in the meth business or the money business. Neither. I'm in the Trump business.
So thank you.
Attention retirees and actives and all pension funds. This is Bob Amsden
and Bernie Anderson of the Wisconsin Committees to Protect Pensions.
We are asking anyone that supports retirement savings security to call your U.S. representatives to support H.R. 397, also known as the Butch-Lewis Act.
This bill is one of the first bills in years to address the pension time bomb. This bipartisan bill will be voted on in the House of Representatives the week of July 22nd.
Please call your representatives now. This will affect everyone with a pension directly and indirectly.
If you are in favor of retirement security, as we all are, please call your representative at 202-225-3121.
Tell Brian Stile, Jim Sensenbrenner, and Glenn Grothman to vote for H.R. 397, the Butch-Lewis Act. Be courteous and polite, but stress that they must protect your retirement savings.
That's 202-225-3121.
Let's save retirement security.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Pobletti, and our report for Tuesday, July 23rd is brought to you by Spectrum. GOP Rep Mike Rohrkast, a member of the Joint Finance Committee, told WisPolitics.com today he won't seek re-election in 2020 to focus on his new post as overseeing a nonprofit that helps those with Alzheimer's and dementia. But first, the Joint Finance Committee unanimously approved moving $2 million in the Department of Health Services budget to cover a shortfall at the state's 2 mental health institutions. In the process, Dems slammed Republicans for refusing to accept federal money to expand the Medicaid program, and GOP members knocked the gov for vetoing money for a proposed regional center in northern Wisconsin to address mental health. Governor Evers vetoed a $15 million earmark Republicans had added to the budget that would have approved bonding for proposed Northern Wisconsin Regional Crisis Center. The provision was added to address concerns from locals about transporting those facing mental health crisis to available beds elsewhere in the state. Additionally, Savion Castro, a staffer for Madison Dem Rep Sheila Stubbs, has been appointed to fill a vacant seat on the Madison School Board. The 24-year-old Castro last night was unanimously appointed to the board to replace Mary Burke, who resigned earlier this month citing personal and professional commitments that were diverting time and energy away from her role on the board. Castro won the appointment over a crowded field of 26 applicants, including former school board members Carol Carstensen and Ed Hughes. He will serve on the board for the next 9 months, at which point he faces a special election to fill the remainder of Burke's term, which expires in 2021. He told WisPolitics.com that he intends to run in that election. Finally, Roarcast has made dementia and Alzheimer's two of his key issues during his 3 terms in the legislature, including chairing a task force to address both diseases. He was appointed executive director of the Fox Valley Memory Project, effective July 1, and Roarcast said he will fill out his current term while serving in the new position. Said Roarcast in an interview, quote, "It would be hard to do fundraising for the Memory Project and then do fundraising as a candidate. It would just be awkward." For WisPolitics Midday, sponsored by Spectrum, I'm Pat Pobletti.
This has been WisPolitics Midday. For more state government and political news, visit wispolitics.com.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
From Milwaukee to Madison, state government shapes our lives for better or worse. Let's talk about it. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD 1510 AM.
"60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates."
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, the topic we're turning from, meth.
Well, not just meth. That Trump is America's political meth.
Sort of, yes. The whole country. Merica and meth. That's the Trump presidency. But I wanted to pivot. I'm wondering if Fancy Brian's going to pivot with me from...
Trump. Pants. Trump. Pants.
Exactly. Want to pivot from Donald Trump to Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence doesn't get enough credit.
No, you're right. We don't do nearly enough Pence bashing.
Now, I don't know if you recall, Dom, but it was like earlier this month, Mike Pence was supposed to make a trip to New Hampshire, and he canceled. No explanation whatsoever. I just assumed lack of interest.
Oh, very curious. I thought maybe, it could have been a security issue, or perhaps there was something, you called him back to the Situation Room.
I think the White House could have handled this better.
Maybe a French fry had gone to Donald Trump's heart, something like that, clogged artery. Well, here's what ABC News is now reporting, Dom. A New Hampshire man who recently pleaded guilty to facilitating illegal distribution of fentanyl worked at an opioid treatment center. Vice President Mike Pence was slated to visit earlier this month, a trip that was abruptly canceled without explanation. Jeffrey Hatch, previously the chief business development officer, well, he was industrious. He was out there scouring the streets for new business, Tom.
Well, if he's got fentanyl and he's works at an opioid clinic, he's out there searching for new clients?
Creating new clients?
I guess.
Jeffrey Hatch, previously the chief business development officer at Granite Recovery Centers, pled guilty last Friday to arranging the pickup of approximately, and this seems like a lot of fentanyl, Dom, 1,500 grams of fentanyl from a Massachusetts dealer and arranging its delivery to an unidentified individual in New Hampshire, according to court documents. The investigation into Hatch was at least part of the reason. Did he need a better reason? Part of the reason Pence's visit was canceled, according to sources familiar with the matter. The illegal conduct took place nearly 2 years ago, according to the plea agreement, when Hatch used his phone to arrange the pickup of 1,500 grams of fentanyl, a highly addictive opioid, from a Massachusetts drug supplier and deliver it to a New Hampshire drug distributor. The New Hampshire drug dealer went on to sell the fentanyl to an undercover law enforcement officer, according to court documents. As part of the plea agreement, Hatch could face as much as 4 years in prison with the maximum fine of $250,000. Tom, I'd say that's getting off early or easy, quite frankly. One quick quote here, Dom. I'm shocked and disappointed to learn today that Jeff Hatch has pled guilty to a drug offense. Credit Recovery Center CEO Eric Spoford said Monday in a statement to ABC News, Credit Recovery Centers terminated Jeff's employment today, immediately upon learning about this matter. Got fired today, Dom, apparently. The vice president was tipped off to the fact that the man was in plea negotiations.
The Political reports on this same story, Crudy. 2 months before federal authorities alleged he made the drug pickup, Hatch stood with Senator Shaheen to warn students about drug use, telling his personal story. According to WMUR-TV, Hatch told students he began taking opioids after a back injury in his 20s. Quote, "For me, that worked, but when I made the realizations that if I were able to take a couple more, it would cure emotional pain, along with physical pain," he said. "If you suffer from it, talk about it. Let it be known, because that is why we are all here helping. We know it exists, we know it's real, and you are not less than because we have it," unquote. At the time, Shaheen said she wanted more funding for programs to help student athletes fight addiction issues. Shaheen said in a statement Monday, Granite staters seeking recovery from substance disorders put their trust in Mr. Hatch, and it's incredibly disappointing to see how badly that trust was betrayed. He needs to be held accountable. Less than a month ago, Hatch took part in a roundtable with retired Brigadier General Donald Bolduc, who may face a three-way primary to take on Shaheen. He told the group he has been in recovery for 13 years. So the 1,500 grams, they put a street value here in the Political article of about $100,000.
1,500 grams could kill a lot of people, Dom, if you're talking about fentanyl.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff's very dangerous.
Yes.
I think it's Shaheen, but anyways.
Shaheen, sure.
Who's counting, man?
And who are you to tell me? Thank you, Crudy.
Well, when I do know the proper pronunciation, I'd like to share.
I appreciate that. Shaheen.
As one guilty of occasional
once in a while
mispronunciation. Just rare but occasional mispronunciation.
844-967-2789. Let's get to the phones. Mark from the Sac, you're first today. What do you got for us?
Well, it's you guys have hit it. If Donald Trump is innocent here, why are they afraid for the information to come out? I mean, that if he is innocent, they should be more than happy for Mueller to answer all the questions, for the reports to be completely unredacted, so we can see how innocent Donald Trump is. I mean, the fact of the matter is,
do you think any of the Trump meth heads, those that are addicted to the Trump meth, do you think that they're even asking that very simple, obvious question?
I don't know. I think it could be proven that Trump was raping girls right alongside Jeff Epstein, and they'd be just all good with it.
Allegedly raping girls alongside Epstein. We got to throw that in.
But I think what he's saying is, if that were to be the case,
I said if that were to be the case. I mean, that I think that they,
Hey, you cover your ass how you have to. I'll cover mine how I feel like I have to. But please continue, Mark.
Yeah, but it just, and then now you get the information, why is Bill Barr not accusing himself from that case? Because apparently his father, it was brought up yesterday, I think, here, that his father hired Epstein back in the day, and,
but
do we know that...
That's just a cover story, to my opinion, Mark. I mean, I think the reason that original recusal, maybe there was some extended connection between Barr and Epstein, but... the unrecusal, I think that's because there's probably a connection between Epstein and the president. And this attorney general is basically the protector-in-chief of Donald Trump's presidency at this late hour.
And how do we tolerate the fact that if he is innocent, he does not need protection in that manner. If he is innocent, he does. So, I mean, so Bill Barr is supposedly this good Christian man. He's willing to cover for a guy's, that alleged, rape of young girls. I mean, that how do we? And it just boggles my mind how people can reconcile and overlook that fact.
Are we talking about Bill Barr? Because I don't see a direct connection between Barr and raping of young girls, although I do see a direct connection between Barr and the failure to prosecute those that choked out Eric Garner. And I do see a failure on Barr's behalf to prosecute the campaign finance violations that are so evident and clear that Donald Trump perpetrated in cahoots with Michael Cohen. But I haven't seen any direct correlation. And Mark, you're well read. Maybe you read something I missed. I haven't seen that Barr specifically has covered for Trump on this Epstein thing yet.
But yes, and that is the big thing there. If he was not going to cover for him, he would not need to unrecuse himself. I mean, so he's in control of the situation.
They're all acting like they're very guilty, aren't they, Mark?
They're acting like they're guilty, and usually that's kind of an indication of that you're guilty of something if you're acting that way. And let's remember how many people that William Barr arranged the pardons of Oliver North for drug crimes. I mean, they were how many people died as a result of the drugs that Oliver North facilitated getting into this country. I mean, that we don't know. I mean, there's no, because the investigation was killed because of Bill Barr did that.
Mark,
we'll never know.
I'm not clear that people even know that fact. I mean, the general, most people, and certainly most Trump supporters, I don't think are aware of Barr's history in those regards at all. I have no confidence in that. Hell, they didn't read a report that came out 100 days ago. You think they're going to remember what happened 30 years ago?
Well, but yeah, I mean, they're happily bringing stuff out about Hillary Clinton from 30 years ago.
Well, that's ingrained in their heads, man. Come on. It's the emails, don't forget. Thanks for the call, man. Always appreciate it.
Dominic, I'd like to get a story out there. Obviously, we've talked about the presidential primaries. Let's not forget, we got big broadcast next week. We'll be live in Detroit Rock City. We'll be broadcasting live from the second round of the Dem presidential debates. Night one, a really big night. You're going to see the two Democratic progressive lions in Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders going head-to-head. You're going to see Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And then on night two, you get to see a rematch. What framing, just visually. Joe Biden at center stage, Kamala Harris on his right, and Cory Booker on his left. I just think you'll see a contrast. I think, you'll see Biden-Harris 2.0, and Cory Booker will get his first swipes, and he's trying to still make some, the presidential debate stage in September needs to get his polling up. He's going to have to make, a few bones at Joe Biden's expense as well. So that will be exciting next Tuesday and Wednesday.
You sound like you're kind of discounting Biden a little bit, man. Uncle Joe's not going to come into that thing unprepared, dude. Not after what happened to him last time. Nope.
You mean again?
Yes, exactly. I mean again. It will not happen again. So your
prediction is he's somehow going to deflect
I think Biden comes out strong. I don't think he gets I think he comes out swinging, actually.
Well, outstanding. We'll all have to tune in for that, Dom, right here on these fine radio stations, WRD 1510 AM, Talk 92.7 FM. Next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be live in Detroit Rock City at the debate site, 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. You and I will go live. And then, Dom, the live debates, we get to broadcast them out with our broadcast partners, I guess we should call them, Westwood One News. They will have the live debates, anchored coverage from 7 to 9, so we're doing it live. But, Dom, obviously, I bring that up only to point out an election coming up. And Eugene Robinson writes at the Washington Post, we can't pretend this is a normal election. I read from Robinson's piece. Bring it on. If President Trump and the Republican Party want the 2020 election to be a referendum on unabashed white supremacy, That's their choice. Voters who embrace the views of David Duke and other proud racists will have Trump to vote for. Voters who disagree will have a Democratic alternative. Simple as that. At the moment, it is difficult to see the coming contest in any other light. Make America Great Again has completed its sinister transformation into Make America White Again. And it's foolish to pretend otherwise. Ah, damn it. I touched the screen and it jumped me off my article. Bear with me for just a moment. Dom, you got to help me out here.
No sensible person should want such a fight. In a sprawling, diverse nation such as ours, and with such a long and troubled history on issues of race, a certain amount of pretense is necessary. We try to bury our ugliest fears and resentments beneath a nobler commitment to the pluralistic ideals enshrined in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. At our best, we subsume our private prejudices beneath a sense of civic responsibility. But Trump is no sensible person, and he obviously does not represent our best. He is a demagogue with one highly effective political move: driving wedges. He is now trying to open a chasm between white and non-white Americans, and he wants to force his potential supporters, Crudy, to choose a side.
I hope and expect that Trump's race baiting will fail, but hope and expectations are not enough. His shamefully divisive tactic must be called out, labeled with its proper name, and fought without quarter. Based on Trump's public comments in his Twitter feed, it seems obvious that race is what he wants the nation to be talking about right now, as opposed to his administration's incompetence and corruption. But to ignore his white power tactic would be a much bigger mistake than facing it head on. Trump may believe his political opponents lack the stomach to confront him. He must be proved wrong. Trump has chosen as his foils 4 Democratic first-term members of Congress, Reps Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley, who all, not coincidentally, happen to be women of color. The president has demanded they go back to the countries from which they came. All but Omar, a naturalized citizen, were born in the United States, and claim they have no right to express their progressive views. Last week at a campaign rally in North Carolina, Trump was blasting Omar, who came to this country as a refugee from Somalia, when the crowd began a shocking chant, "Send her back, send her back." And Don, we questioned aloud yesterday after what?
Omarosa
on Al Sharpton's show, we questioned if these chants of "send her back" were not led by the very Trump campaign. But I read on. Before continuing his speech, the president paused to let the chant gather force and then gradually die out. Members of the White House staff were reportedly appalled, but no one quit in protest. Republicans in Congress were reportedly aghast, but almost all of them refused to directly criticize the president. After making the perfunctory and apparently false claim that he disliked the chant, Trump went on to amplify it. He demanded that those who do not love the United States, by which he clearly means his vision of the country, should leave it. On Sunday, he tweeted, "I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America." On Monday, he called them a very racist group of troublemakers. This was surely a theme of Trump's white power appeal, that minorities who have the nerve to raise their voices are the real racists who should be blamed for any and all hardships afflicting whites. It is incredible that our national political discourse has sunk to this kind of hideous scapegoating. But here we are. Democrats, independents, and Republicans, disgusted by Trump's use of race as a wedge, cannot pretend this is a normal election. Republican office holders and candidates who stand by Trump, perhaps for reasons of self-preservation, must be pressed. Do they believe all Americans, regardless of race, have a right to participate in our democracy or not? Do they believe Americans who disagree with Trump's policies should leave the country or not? Do they agree with white supremacists that whites are somehow threatened by racist minorities or not? Anyone tempted to support Trump because of his economic or foreign policy should be constantly reminded that this is not an a la carte menu. If you plan to vote for Trump because of his tax cuts, for example, or his uncritical support of Israel, you're also voting for his racism. This is nothing less than a fight for the soul of the nation. Everyone needs to take a stand. Well, Dom, we are the devil's advocates. We are not afraid to take a stand. This is my new policy. Screw this racist president. And if you support him, screw your racist ass. You need to denounce the president now. And I'm talking to Gary and everybody else. It is the time. And Ron Johnson, Senator Ron Johnson. Let's come back. Let's talk about our buddy Rojo. Had a little policy. Got a little chastisement from the Stephen Colbert last night on the late night shows. We'll tell you all about it. Come back with us. Phone lines open. We are the Devil's Advocates. Our phone number, 844-967-2789.
This president is fighting every single day.
I will fight you. That's no lie.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
You shot me! You shot me right in the arm!
Oh, my arm! It's broken!
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD, 1510 AM Milwaukee. Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
Transit worker Local 998 knows that cuts to transit service are cuts to our community.
I will get paid like $7.25 doing the same things I'm doing out here, and I'm getting paid $10.
You know, I'm a disabled veteran, and, you know, this is my only way of getting around at this point.
No, I got a car at the house, but my mama don't like driving all the time, or she got work and stuff, so I rely on the bus, you feel me?
There is no other way. If the bus wasn't there, I would have to call somebody for a ride, and, you know, I can't really afford to give people gas money for rides, and I don't have a vehicle, so these buses really help me out a lot.
Transit worker Local 998 also know who is responsible for these cuts, and so does the county.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support your community and Transit Workers Local 998.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Gun violence, immigration, healthcare, reproductive rights, issues that affect you every day. That's my business. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD, 1510 a.m.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the phone lines, talk or text, toll free, 844-967-2789. Let's get to them right now. Wisco Paul, you are up. Happy Tuesday, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. A couple of things. With the new federal budget, which puts deficits through the roof, where's the Tea Party? Are they dead? And my second one is about this Stephen Miller. This guy shouldn't even be in charge of he shouldn't be in charge of a light switch in the White House, but isn't he the head of immigration? This guy, this Stephen Miller, and if he is, the Democrats should be talking about him every day. And that's all I have for today. And one thing about the Mueller deal, that's Republicans investigating Republicans. That's my fear there. So thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Wisco. Appreciate it, man. The deficits. Rush Limbaugh commented on the deficits recently.
Deficits don't matter suddenly, Don.
The headline from CNN from yesterday, perhaps a few days ago, Rush Limbaugh just admitted Republicans have totally abandoned a core party principle. I'm not going to read into it, but they had that
never
principle.
had any principles.
When it whatever benefits them politically, that's the principle. They'll try to frame it into some sort of conservatism, some patriotic, God-loving way, and then when it no longer suits them, what deficits? Deficits don't matter.
Now, my understanding is this new 2-year budget deal that raises the debt limits for 2 years and effectively sets up a ticking time bomb should the Democrats be fortunate enough to win the presidency, because the Republicans are going to have this great weapon to blow up the government about 4 to 6 months after the election. But anyways, setting that aside for just a minute, Paul mentioned the Tea Party. Well, the Tea Party passed some budgetary restraints back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Both Democrats and Republicans in conjunction and in support of Donald Trump, apparently, have all agreed together, we're going to set aside everybody's principles. We're going to set this bill up, to explode sometime in the next presidency, and we're going to exceed the baseline spending set forth by the Tea Party by about $320 billion.
The Wall Street Journal reports, as Curdy mentions, the agreement foregoes the steep spending cuts initially sought by the administration, providing for about $320 billion in spending over 2 years above limits set in a 2011 budget law that established automatic spending cuts known as the sequester. Remember the sequester? Oh, we talked about the sequester. The sequester. Sequester schmester. Big deal. $320 billion more. Thank you very much. They don't give a damn. It doesn't matter. And unfortunately, at some point, it's going to matter. I mean, the amount of money that this country is going to pay out in interest alone is going to be staggering. It's already staggering. It is. We cannot.
Didn't we just issue another $1 trillion in debt?
And we're in a decent economy right now. Hell, tell Trump. He'll tell you this is the best that it's ever been. Right? The best, the greatest economy the world has ever known. And we're deficit spending at a time. This is a time when we should not be deficit spending, Trump. What is going on?
As long as they don't call themselves fiscal conservatives anymore.
Ever again.
Well, we'll talk about our buddy Roadshow. He often claims to be a fiscal conservative, doesn't he, Dom?
He does.
But he applauded the tax cuts, especially the pass-through tax cuts for designated S-corps, like Ron Johnson happens to be through his own corporation, Paycor, Dom.
I don't think you can talk
Very
about...
proud of that tax cut he gave himself. And guys like me, he said.
Trillions of dollars in tax cuts, and you wonder why we're running deficits. I mean, there's revenue and there's expenses. There's two sides to the equation, and I'm not clear the Republicans get either side.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We'll be back on the other side. Hour 2 is next.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroop.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
County Executive Chris Avery has declared racism a public health crisis, but he cuts the bus route for mostly black families driven mostly by black drivers.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abele is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abele at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support and transit workers local 998 and ask him why is he making this public health crisis worse.
Listen to This is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This is Progress on WRRD 1510 a.m.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 a.m. Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Mueller Countdown. Last minute request. I'm Mike Moss.
No, I don't intend to be watching it.
Interest is growing in tomorrow's testimony by former special counsel Robert Mueller, but Senate leader Mitch McConnell says he won't be among those tuning in. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham says he's heard enough already.
And I don't think anything Mueller can say that's going to change anybody's mind.
Correspondent Manu Raju reports Mueller has made a last-minute request.
What he is asking for is that his deputy, Aaron Zebley, to be sworn in tomorrow to answer any questions that may come up that perhaps the special counsel cannot fully answer.
Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler.
Our goal is to break the lies of the president.
More from White House correspondent Bob Costantini.
He only briefly mentioned Robert Mueller's testimony, but did go after the Democrats that have pushed the former special counsel to appear before two committees in one day.
So you have no collusion, no obstruction, and yet it goes on, and they think this is helping them. I personally think it's hurting them. A lot of people think it's very bad for them.
As for the president, he says maybe he'll tune in for a bit of what Mueller has to say, and he'll likely have his own say on the South Lawn when heading off to a West Virginia event. Bob Costantini, the White House.
The Charlotte City Council has voted to condemn the tweets and comments President Trump has made toward four progressive congresswomen. Councilmember Justin Harlow.
This resolution seeks to not talk so much about a convention or political parties, but simply about what should be not debatable, simply what should be a non-starter all the time, racism.
Charlotte is the host city for the 2020 GOP convention. Delegates to the NAACP National Convention have just voted today to unanimously call on the House to impeach the president. On Wall Street, the Dow up 177, S&P up 20. I'm Mike Moss.
Youth.
Attention retirees and actives and all pension funds. This is Bob Amsden
and Bernie Anderson of the Wisconsin Committees to Protect Pensions.
We are asking anyone that supports retirement savings security to call your U.S. representatives to support H.R. 397, also known as the Butch-Lewis Act.
This bill is one of the first bills in years to address the pension time bomb. This bipartisan bill will be voted on in the House of Representatives the week of July 22nd.
Please call your representatives now. This will affect everyone with a pension directly and indirectly.
If you are in favor of retirement security, as we all are, please call your representative at 202-225-3121.
Tell Brian Stile, Jim Sensenbrenner, and Glenn Grothman to vote for H.R. 397, the Butch-Lewis Act. Be courteous and polite, but stress that they must protect your retirement savings.
That's 202-225-3121.
Let's save retirement security.
U.S. has a new Secretary of Defense.
The nomination is confirmed.
Mark Esper is the first Senate-confirmed Secretary of Defense since former Defense Secretary James Mattis resigned several months ago. The vote was 90-8, reflecting broad bipartisan support for Esper, who replaces acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan. He withdrew from consideration and resigned his post as acting secretary amid multiple reports describing past domestic violence incidents in his family. Esper takes over at the Pentagon as the Trump administration faces many foreign policy challenges, not the least of which includes growing tensions with Iran. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
The Senate has voted to extend the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund for decades, permanently compensating individuals who were injured during the 2001 terrorist attacks and their aftermath. The two-year budget deal backed by the White House and congressional leaders would allow $300 billion in deficit spending. Conservatives say that measures must be taken to slow the debt. I'm Mike Moss.
Do you? Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Hey Milwaukee, I'm Sherwin Hughes, host of The Forum from 9 a.m. to noon on WRRD 1510 a.m. Always streaming live on NewsTalk1510am.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources yesterday asked 125 municipal wastewater treatment systems, including Milwaukee's, to begin investigating for the presence of what are known as forever chemicals. Well-known Milwaukee lawyer Robert Menard was jailed yesterday on charges of stealing at least $700,000 from his ex-law partner, his clients, and his uncle, according to a 14-felony count criminal complaint. And the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel is reporting that manufacturers in Wisconsin are concerned that a downturn in business may be on the way. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 60.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever.
And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility,
we must tell you, the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Tuesday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, I like to think of this as Muellertime Eve. Get up with us tomorrow morning, bright and early. Devil's Advocates will take you live. We're doing it live starting at 7 a.m. Mueller, all the bell-to-bell testimony from the special counsel to the Congress right here on WRRD 1510 a.m. Talk 92.7 FM. But we're doing it live in the morning, Dom, and we're doing it live right now. And we're going to talk about Ron Johnson. But first, let's get back to the audience. We've got a few patient holders at 844-967-2789. We'll go to Dick from Madison next. Dick, welcome back.
You know, your caller that was wondering about the deficit and why are they not, so all in a bundle about it like they used. It's an easy one. They were for deficit reduction before they were against it. Where's Grover Norquist, too? There's another question for you.
That's a great question. Where is Grover? Where has he been? I mean, he got his tax cuts, so I guess he's good there. But unfortunately, that's, one side of the ledger, Dick. And we need that revenue. And if you're not going to have other cuts or we don't have enough growth, well, then we're running deficits.
Well, Grover just wants to choke Merica out in the bathtub, right?
Right. And like you guys said earlier, that's exactly what they're up to, too. Should he lose, and hopefully he does, but I don't know. It's scary. But they're going to set us up to fail, and then guess who gets to come in and play janitor again? Whoever the Democratic president is.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Barack Obama had to clean up the mess of the presidency and the housing crisis? And what did he say? I'm going to pull this school bus out of the ditch, and you're yelling at me because I haven't backed it out quick enough yet?
Yeah, and especially when they fought him tooth and nail on the second stimulus, which any economist that had any credibility was down with and should have happened.
Well, Dick, Elizabeth Warren, and I like her quite a bit, and I think she's a smart woman. She's already talking about and predicting the next economic tragedy to hit our nation. And if you don't have a plan, and I know Elizabeth Warren's always got a plan, but I don't think Donald Trump's got any sort of plan. Donald Trump.
Oh, my God. You'd be a deer in headlights. You remember here's the plan he'll have. The same one that John McCain had when stuff melted down and he shut his campaign down. Remember that?
Well, I don't think Trump can shut his campaign down because it's the only thing keeping him out of prison. But he could do something legislatively. He could reach across the aisle. All these populist things he talked about, it's going to raise the minimum wage. At different times, he advocated for many policies that would be popular and that he could even get some progressive Democratic support for. But he's not going to do any of that. He said it today. I'm not really interested in legislating anything that's going to improve the lot of even his rural white voters. Dick, he doesn't give a damn about the voters. It's all about creating electoral pain. I mean, he thinks
Give
the
him
winning
some credit.
strategy is to create pain.
Give him some credit. Supposedly, he rounded up 32 people last weekend.
Well, it was 35, but only 17 of them were on a list of like 2,100 names. Now, I don't cheer anytime I see ICE rounding up people that are here apparently without documentation, Dick. But yeah, what a failure, man. When you go to get 2,100 people, you come back with 35 and only 17 were even on the list? Who are the other 18 people they grabbed up?
It's sort of like his voter fraud, too.
I don't think you could find 18 examples of.
Yeah, but guys, what about the consternation he caused this country in announcing that there's big thing going on? People were talking about it left or right. Op-eds being written. Immigrants' rights groups saying, "Hey, here's what you need to do." I mean, he caused a stir with this on purpose, and I'm not clear that 35 is any more or less than any other regular weekend in that agency.
Well, Dick. Perhaps it was the president sort of tipped off the immigrants. Maybe he undermined his own inhumane policies.
Well, it's sort of like the reason he has a problem to begin with is the whole wall thing. That's what stimulated people from Honduras and all over to come because they're afraid they couldn't come after a wall is built.
Dick, appreciate the phone call. It was acknowledged yesterday, Dom. There has not been a single mile of new wall being built. Donald Trump acknowledged it on his own Twitter stream, right? Said, well, they don't count the wall we tear down and build a new. That's new wall, right? No, it's no additional wall.
If you tear up a road and put down a new road in the same spot that the existing road was, it's a new road in the sense that it's nice and smooth, but it is not a new road in the sense that it takes you anywhere other else than you were already going on that road.
844-967-2789, the road to nowhere with Dominic and Crudy. Britt from Eureka, California, welcome to it.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good.
Excellent.
All right, well, I was listening to you yesterday. I didn't get a chance to call, but I heard one of you two finally coming around to the idea of impeachment, the I word.
I'm very, very close at this point.
Yeah,
sir.
Britt,
Very
that's all
close.
Crudy, man. I've been there for a while, so aim all your anger at Crudy.
Okay,
Let's see
I'm
how
not
tomorrow
angry.
morning
I'm not angry.
goes.
I'm just excited. Although
all right.
I'm a little concerned about tomorrow because I do feel like the whole thing hinges really on the Mueller testimony. I mean, isn't that really going to decide whether or not impeachment goes forward? It's starting to feel that way to me.
I think, certainly depends on how it goes. I mean, there could be such a bomb that Mueller says, something that we don't know, puts it in some articulate way that we can all digest and repeat over and over again, and it just goes through the country like a firestorm. Or it's going to be very evident that he's not going to say jack, and it is specifically up to Congress to go through this process because Mueller's not going to offer any more than he has already said in his report.
Yeah, but gentlemen.
See, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think the bombshell is going to land tomorrow. I wish it would. I certainly think he's capable of it. But bottom line, and I hate to say it, but my grandmother was a Republican, and although she crossed the line a few times into a far moderate liberal territory, at least on one occasion, I just can't see him going the distance on this and really, laying out a case for why this president needs to be impeached.
It's not
just because he's a Republican, he's a friend of bars. I don't know how much of a friend, but he's also he feels like a law and duty kind of guy. He's not the kind of guy he did his job. I feel like he did his job, and he's not going to give us any more information than clarify possibly parts of the parts of the report. But what I am worried
Brett,
about
it's
is,
not just that he's clarifying; he's amplifying, and the Democrats are going to concentrate on 5 counts of obstruction. And if we're specifically talking about Don McCann in the White House being instructed to fire the special counsel by Don McCann's own 30 hours of testimony, and the president of the United States directing the White House counsel to lie about the fact after the fact, well, that is going to be very damning. And I know that you and I and those that have paid attention, we know this. We've seen the testimony. We've seen the reporting thereof. But there are so many people that have not heard Mueller say Don McGahn in his testimony said fire Mueller. That's what Trump told me to do. And then he called me back and asked me, had it been done yet? I mean, that's going to come off as damning. And I don't think that it's Mueller's job to lay out the case for impeachment. I think it's the Democrats' job to lead him to restate, to amplify these already existent things in the record that so many of the Republicans would like to pretend are not there, Britt.
Right.
At least I got my fingers crossed, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But one thing I got to make a point out: who in the House is this going to be? Nadler? Who in the House is going to be the guy that's really going to lead Mueller to that revelation that we all need to hear on TV?
You know, Nadler's decent. He's a lawyer by trade. He wouldn't be on the Judiciary Committee, wouldn't be heading it up if he was not a lawyer. But, you know, I sure wish Kamala Harris got a crack at the witness, because I don't find Nadler to be a strong interrogator. And I don't think Nadler's the one that's going to get us to the finish line, because there will be too many misspeaks. You know,
and my problem, and one more point. I know I know you guys got to move on, but I want to make one other point here. Is that I'm concerned because I know that also the Republicans will have an opportunity to interject and to obfuscate and to cover and to do whatever they need to do to try and discredit Mueller and this whole testimony that's going to be given. So I have concerns about it tomorrow. I hope for the best. I just don't know that we have a Kamala Harris in the House who can really tear a hole in this, you know, in this space-time fabric and get the eye started right now.
Well, I don't think the Republicans are going to be able to help themselves, Britt. They will be horses' asses. I mean, Matt Gaetz, you're not going to see a more petulant, punk-ass kid ever than Matt Gaetz, unless it's Jim Jordan. I mean, the Republicans are going to look really, really bad.
And Nadler doesn't get the entire, I mean, obviously the other folks on the committee get their opportunity to ask their questions. You know, Nadler will open it up and he'll wrap it up. But also on the other, the Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff as well. That committee, I think, gets 2 hours. So 5 hours between the two committees. I'm pretty confident that we'll get some good questions out of those committees, and we'll get Mueller on record, in his own voice, in his own words.
I bet we see more sound bites of the interrogation Adam Schiff on Mueller than Gerald Nadler. Nadler will not bring him to the concise points that he needs to make to impact the opinion of the American electorate. Come back with us. We're changing minds, changing hearts. Just never change the channel. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. The phone lines, they're open. 844-967-2789.
You can't obstruct a crime that was never committed.
This is part of the resistance and the obstruction.
This Russia thing.
Would that be obstruction?
Yes.
We're going to impeach the motherfucker.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Roadhouse.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD, 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM. Man,
that cuts to transit service are cut
around at this point. You know, I got a car at the house, but my mama don't like driving all the time, or she got work and stuff, so I rely on the bus, you feel me?
There is no other way. If the bus wasn't there, I would have to call somebody for a ride, and, you know, I can't really afford to give people gas money for rides, and I don't have a vehicle, so these buses really help me out a lot.
Transit worker Local 998 also know who is responsible for these cuts, and so does the county.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support your community and Transit Workers Local 998.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Listen to This Is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This Is Progress on WRRD 1510 a.m.
Hey, you want to get high, man?
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. It's the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening. 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you know I like my politics with a healthy dose of some humor. A little dollop on the side of humor. Well, I often find myself watching the late night shows, and I'm very proud of myself. Stephen Colbert, when they go to taping, it's about the same time we go live right here at WRD and Talk 92.7. And we play out in Charlottesville, and we play out in Eureka, California, and a few other places, Minneapolis, and next week we'll be playing out in Chicago. But Stephen Colbert's got a team of writers, and so I watch every night, and I see, have we caught this same comedic tone or headline? And so often we do, Dom. We're right there.
Funny's funny.
The very same funny that he finds, we often find in the headlines, Dom. But yesterday, Colbert scooped this little product with a little story about Rojo, Ron Johnson, and we've got some sound. We're going to play it out for the audience. This one, all credit to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert talking about your senator and mine, the senior senator from the great state of Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, played for the people. Fancy Cut 90, Ron Johnson.
What I would like to see is us moving toward that colorblind society, and where we really could embrace Dr. King's sentiment that
of this. Late night hosts discussed Donald Trump's continuing attack on the squad, as well as his ill-informed attempt to try and save ASAP Rocky from Swedish prison.
What? No, what? Why?
There's a rapper apparently named $, instead of an S, ASAP, ASAP Rocky, and he's being held in a Swedish prison.
But Dominic $Alvio wants to know why Donald Trump is involved in this at all.
I'm not at all clear why that would be the case, Dom. And my understanding is Trump has threatened to pay the man's bail for him. Of course, Trump often threatens to pay the tab and then doesn't carry through.
Right.
And it's pretty bad. I even saw a chagrined Justin Bieber saying, thanks for promising to get my friend ASAP Rocky out of prison, out of jail, but he's been there 5 days. What can you do for the kids on the border?
I will pay for the legal fees, I promise.
When a Canadian like Justin Bieber shaking a fist at the president of the United States, Dom, you should just be happy we're not playing a Justin Bieber song. But let me read. Stephen Colbert on the the Late Show, Stephen Colbert referred to the debacle surrounding Trump's racist tweets against 4 Democratic congresswomen of color as a public relations nightmare. I'd say Trump has said that one of the women, Ilhan Omar, is very lucky to be in Congress, to which Colbert joked in the voice of Trump, far too many immigrants end up being my wife. Reports suggested that Trump only spoke out against the racist chants at his rally after Ivanka and Melania stepped in and told him to respond. At a press conference, Trump then claimed that this was fake news. I'm not going to stand here and let you accuse my daughter and my wife of being decent people, Colbert joked. He then moved on to Stephen Miller, a guy with the kind of face that makes you understand why racists used to wear hoods, who appeared on Fox News to defend the president, as did Mike Pence. The Wisconsin senator, Ron Johnson, also spoke out saying this wasn't as much a problem in the 1960s. That's the prior statement made by Ron Johnson that drew the ire. Here is Ron's quote in its completion, apparently, Dom. What a great litmus test for whether or not here's Colbert responding. What a great litmus test for whether or not something is racist. It was okay in the 1960s. Remember the famous words of Martin Luther King, I have a dream that someday things will be exactly as they are right now.
No, I don't remember that part.
Johnson also said that people should be judged on their character, not their skin color. We are judging Trump, we heard this part, on the content of his character. He's a racist, and we have no idea what the color of his skin is, Colbert said. I want to say raw chicken slathered with pumpkin spice.
Nasty.
So anyways, Rojo basically said, we didn't have all these issues back in the 1960s, and then had the temerity to quote Martin Luther King Jr., talking about not Colbert, but Ron Johnson.
We didn't have these issues in the 60s. I mean, that's when the civil rights movement occurred. Ron?
Well, Ron wants to point out, let's not judge people by the color of their skin, but the content of their character, which is so laughable when we look at the content of Donald Trump's character, and perhaps even Ron's.
I mean, Loving Virginia, which outlawed the banning of interracial marriage, occurred in 1967. I mean, if I'm rounding up, that's closer to 1970, Ron. What do you mean we didn't have these problems?
Ron doesn't even know what the drinking age is, man.
Come on, Ron.
You can't hold him to facts and numbers and years and stuff like that, Dom. No historical context necessary. Ron has a dream that we can move beyond asking Ron about the racist tweets of this president. Because Ron feels very uncomfortable defending this man, but yet he's doing a little shuck and jive right now.
Isn't it a little white privilege to look back at the racial turmoil that occurred in the 1960s and say those words? It is stunning. I'm a little stunned, I have to be honest. I had not heard that his quote in its entirety. But come on, Ron. Where's your historical perspective? I mean, you're not 15 years old, sir. You've been around a while. You're a senior senator from the great state of Wisconsin. Surely you must know that there was great racial strife in the 60s, right?
Dom begs the question, is it too late now to say sorry? You better apologize, Fancy Brian. Suddenly,
that's it.
We're playing Justin Bieber on the Devil's Advocates radio show.
That is not allowed. It's in your contract.
Next, when we come back and we play a little
contract?
ASAP Rocky. More Devil's Advocates on the other side.
I apologize.
You on the phones as well, if you choose. Got to dial, though, 844-967-2789. Sorry about the Bieber. Seemed appropriate.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out the Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
If you're living a life that's a lie,
Right,
if you're
well-
not honest, it's a character issue.
We the people, the hardworking 99% of men and women, only have a voice when we join together as one and amplify our message. Now is the time for all Wisconsinites to join We the People and raise our voices. Do you feel like you are wasting your money funding unaccountable consultants, unresponsive candidates, and their campaigns? Help us do something that really matters. Please join We the People. Give what you can so we can support progressive radio stations like this one, using the public airwaves to educate Wisconsin about what we the people want for our state and remind Wisconsin's politicians that they work for us. Your donations to We the People at p4ppc.org, a registered, compliant IRS 501c3, will always be tax deductible, will always remain anonymous, and We the People pledge to spend 100% of donations educating Wisconsin on the issues our donors want discussed, giving individuals a voice in the collective message of We the People. Please give today at p4ppc.org. That's p4ppc.org. We the People need you. You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee. Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
County Executive Chris Abley has declared racism a public health crisis, but he cuts the bus route for mostly black families driven mostly by black drivers.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and We know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support and transit workers local 998 and ask him why is he making this public health crisis worse.
Accredited Investors, WRD 1510 seeks to immediately construct 101.7 in Milwaukee, a brand new 24/7 FM licensed to cover up to 1.8 million people in the nation's number 31 media market. Milwaukee has a Wisconsin Supreme Court primary, a presidential primary, mayoral and county executive races, a Supreme Court general, the Democratic National Convention, and the 2020 presidential race next year. For an accredited investor, there's never been a better time to invest or extend a fixed return loan to an expanding lefty radio station, 1.2 miles from the National Convention. Interested parties call me at the station or email Crute@talk927fm.com. That's Crute@talk927fm.com. Investments may be subject to an SEC 506C filing.
From Milwaukee to Madison, state government shapes our lives for better or worse. Let's talk about it. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD, 1510 a.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Members of Milwaukee's Puerto Rican community demonstrated in solidarity with those on the island Monday evening to demand the resignation of Governor Ricardo Rossello. Milwaukee-based motorcycle company Harley-Davidson yesterday reported a drop in quarterly earnings and lowered its projected bike shipments for the year. And the Brewers lost to the Reds last night. The final score was 6-5. Game 2 of that 3-game series is tonight at Miller Park. The Brewers are now in third place, but still just 2 games behind the first-place Cubs, who come to town for a big series this weekend. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, partly cloudy with lows around 60 degrees. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN.
Wake up feeling blessed up.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I believe this is ASAP Rocky $ on the S in ASAP, but I have no idea. For realsy, I have no idea.
How's it feel getting old, man? I don't know either.
Do you have any thought that Donald Trump's like a fan of this guy?
Come on, man. Don't you
How
think...
did Donald Trump even hear about this story? Why would
He's got a heck of a grill.
Stick himself in? I mean...
There hasn't been a good rap album since The Chronic, man. I'm just saying. I'm a little old school that way. No, I mean, the kids these days, they love the stuff. Who am I to say? I'm not going to be that old, man. But for me, it was all Dr. Dre and NWA.
Well, you are certainly an old man. 844-967-2789. Don, where are we going next, old man?
The old man, look at my life. How about this one? It kind of goes in the theme. Get Mitch or die trying.
Isn't that a 50 Cent song?
Or at least a movie?
An album.
It's an album? It is an album. All right. Oh, maybe we should play something off of that.
I think it was also a movie.
And a movie. An album and a movie. Crooked Media, according to The Hill, a firm founded by some of former President Barack Obama's staffers, is launching a campaign to try and flip the Republican-controlled Senate in 2020 and oust Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Get Mitch or die trying plans to help fund Democrats in 11 key states that could help overturn the GOP's Senate majority. You could have everything you've ever wanted if it wasn't for this guy. Text a Tuesday video that accompanied the campaign launch reads, Mitch McConnell, he's just as bad as Trump, but no one ever talks about it, says Crooked Media's Tommy Vietor, a former Obama spokesman. Crooked Media's Pod Save America host and company founder John Favreau, John Lovett, and Vietor say in the video that everything you hate about Washington is because this Mitch designed it this way. Encouraging voters to show the door to GOP incumbents and put the party in the Senate minority. So when you're voting against Susan Collins in Maine, you're actually voting against this guy, he says in the video referring to McConnell. Or when you're voting against Cory Booker in Colorado, you're actually voting against old restin' Mitch face, Bob Rose says. Do we have the sound of this? Let's play Get Mitch or Die Trying from Crooked Media.
This guy. Wait, no, wrong guy. This guy, Mitch McConnell, he's just as bad as Trump, and no one ever talks about it. I suck. Here's why. The good guys won back the House in 2018, but thanks to this old weirdo, everything cool we tried to pass has died in the Senate. Hey, democracy, eat shit. Everything you hate about Washington is because this Mitch designed it that way.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term. Obama would not fill this seat. We will now try a different way to bring the American people relief from Obamacare.
But we can get rid of this little Mitch. All we have to do is win a handful of Senate seats in a handful of states, and Mitch loses the majority and all of his creepy, terrifying power. No, please, don't tell him my weaknesses. So when you're voting against Susan Collins in Maine, you're actually voting against this guy. Or when you're voting against Cory Gardner in Colorado, you're actually voting against old resting Mitch face. And in Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, Iowa, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas, you may not see him, but Mitch McConnell is on the ballot. I hated Fleabag. And if you happen to live in Kentucky, you can vote him out of office directly. Whether you live in these states or not, 2020 is our one shot to finally wrestle the power away from Mitch's clammy, weird hands. And we're launching a fund to do just that. Get Mitch or die trying. If you don't donate, I'm just gonna be here forever, Mitch McConnell. You know what I do for fun? Nothing.
Get Mitch or die trying.
Dominic, got a little article, this one published about a week ago. Mitch McConnell's big donors are Wall Street firms, and only 9% of his funds come from Kentucky.
So who are his true constituents?
Wall Street contributions helped Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell raise $3 million last quarter, but just 9% of his donations came from individual donors in his home state of Kentucky. 91% of $3 million came from outside the state, Dom. What's that, about $2.7 million? I'm just saying, I'll read on. The biggest blocks of contribution to McConnell's campaign between April and June came from 29 donors at New York's Blackstone Group, who donated a combined $95,400, and 14 executives from the financial firm KKR & Company, who contributed a combined $51,000, the Louisville Courier-Journal reports. Executives from the firms Apollo Global Management, Golden Tree Asset Management contributed another $65,100 combined. It's no wonder that McConnell is so well liked among the New York elites his party so often castigates. McConnell helped lead the charge to slash taxes on corporations, saving big banks billions. He also led the efforts to roll back big parts of the Dodd-Frank law, which was enacted after the 2008 financial crisis. McConnell also received $88,000 from Georgia-based UPS, nearly $66,000 from Indiana-based pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, and 50 G's from Florida-based private prison contractor GEO Group, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Most of the money McConnell's campaign raised last quarter came from out-of-state donors. Just 9% of his contributions came from individual donors in Kentucky, according to analysis. McConnell raised less than $182,000 from Kentuckians while receiving $281,000 from donors in New York and $216,000 from donors from the state of Texas. Nearly 90% of McConnell's contributions came from big dollar donors. That's the way he likes them, Dom. Just $340,000 of his donations last quarter came from donors who gave less than $200. Meanwhile, McConnell received the maximum $5,600 contributions from casino magnate Sheldon Adelson and his wife Miriam, Coors Brewing Company executive Peter Coors, and NRA official Jennifer Baker, none of whom live or work in Kentucky. Along with his own donations, McConnell raised more than $600,000 from 4 committees that split funds amongst Republican senators seeking re-election. Less than $20,000 came from donors in Kentucky. I'm going to read briefly from the Democratic Party statement on Mitch's fundraising. This is not a good sign for McConnell in 2020, said the Democratic Party, touting the $2.5 million haul Democrat Amy McGrath raised within 24 hours of her announcement that she would challenge McConnell next year. It's unclear how much of the McGrath money was raised, how much McGrath has raised in total. Her first financial disclosure is not due until October. In her unsuccessful bid for U.S. House last year, McGrath raised about $8.5 million, with a roughly 75% of her big dollar contributions coming from out of state. I guess that's how the game is played, Dom.
I guess so.
You just got to go viral and find some sugar daddies and sugar mamas to finance your campaign. Why not look to Wall Street like Mitch McConnell does?
A little bit more here. McConnell's campaign manager, Kevin Golden, said in a statement that McGrath's fundraising was also driven by out-of-state supporters like actresses Alyssa Milano and Bette Midler. Well, you got to name all those libs. Any liberal name in the phone book will raise millions from Hollywood radicals who can't stand that Mitch McConnell is the only leader in Washington who isn't from New York or California, he told the Courier-Journal. Of course, McConnell seemingly cashing all sorts of checks from New York. McConnell raised more than $30 million in his 2014 re-election race against the Democrat, who raised $19 million. Much of McConnell's money in that race came from dark money groups made possible by the Supreme Court's 2010 Citizens United ruling.
And Dominic, let's not forget, part of the way that Mitch McConnell raised that cash, Cocaine Mitch t-shirts. His own campaign rolled out Cocaine Mitch t-shirts. They were selling them for like $30 a pop.
And this is in reference to what? His wife has a Chinese shipping company.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Dom, according to Time magazine, Cocaine Mitch McConnell raised $70,000 on the Cocaine Mitch t-shirt.
Yeah, but those Trump straws did way better.
Well, how else do you suck up the Cocaine Mitch?
Yeah, right. With reusable straws, of course.
Well, those paper straws, they just don't do as well, Dom. You know, once your nose gets all bloody on them.
It gets all runny and bloody, this kind of disintegrate. Yeah, you got to get some good hardcore plastic straws.
Well, kind of like the plastic Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell.
Get Mitch or die trying. Check it out. You can look at it online. This group is trying to get rid of this man from Kentucky. But, yeah, that is some... With that kind of money, 75% from the Democrat challenger, over 90% coming from out of state for Mitch, you know, where are the people of Kentucky in all this?
Well, they're insignificant relative to the fact that Mitch McConnell, of course, the Senate Majority Leader, the last bastion of obstructionism. So many Republican organizations and Wall Street support this man, Dom, because he stops anything the Democrats may try to advance meaningfully. And let's not forget, hell, Merrick Garland, that name ring a bell? The guy who didn't get his confirmation hearing? Thank you, Cocaine Mitch McConnell, all his buddies on the right would say.
I still haven't bought a t-shirt. I think I need to get a Cocaine Mitch t-shirt. I mean, talk about embracing it. And you know, the Nation has a headline, Mitch McConnell's freighted ties to a shadowy shipping company. I mean, after drugs were found aboard the Ping Mei, a vessel owned by his wife's family's company, Colombian authorities are investigating. So his wife's family's company had a ship, the Ping Mei, that was apparently being used to smuggle cocaine. I'm sure the family, nobody knew anything about it. Just these things happen. Like having pedophiles as friends. You know, what are you going to do? People are just hanging around.
Come back with us. Hang around. More Devil's Advocates on the other side. Phone lines open for your calls. 844-967-2789.
Go, 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 shorty.
it's your birthday. We gon' party like it's your birthday. We gon' sip a party like it's your birthday. And you know we don't give up, cause that's your birthday. You'll find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Mama, I got what you need.
I support both the action and the objective.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a load of money.
I don't think we are wrong.
Mueller time comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Mueller time.
County Executive Chris Avery has declared racism a public health crisis, but he cuts the bus route for mostly black families driven mostly by black drivers.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support and transit workers local 998 and ask him why is he making this public health crisis worse.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamster Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Gun violence, immigration, healthcare, reproductive rights, issues that affect you every day. That's my business. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD 1510 a.m.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line. Open for your take, talk or text. Toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we've been talking about the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, although most of his money, most of his campaign contributions, well, they come from Wall Street or Texas or maybe the pharmaceutical industry, Dom. But we've got some sound. Mitch McConnell, of course, we've talked about. Tomorrow morning, get up early. Set your alarm. I've already set my alarm for tomorrow morning, Dom, because it's Mueller time, and Mueller time comes damn early tomorrow. Our live coverage begins at 7. Devil's Advocates, a rarity. Radio before noon for the Devil's Advocates. We're going to get up and do it early. A little wake and bake Mueller time. About 7 a.m. But apparently, Dom, Mitch McConnell, he won't be observing the Mueller testimony, case closed and all that kind of stuff. We got a little sound from the Senate Majority Leader, at least that's his current role. Fancy Brian, gonna need your help. If you would, buddy, play Cut 50, Senate Majority Leader for now, Mitch McConnell. Let's get Mitch or die trying. Cut 50.
Well, the Americans have got a pretty full picture of it. I believe the Mueller report came out some time back. No, I don't intend to be watching it.
I believe it came out sometime back. Are you sure? Did you read it? Do you care?
It's been nearly 100 days, Dom. Let's do one more here. Mitch McConnell, let's do Cut 51.
We've already heard from him. It seems to me, I don't know how many times we want to see this movie again, but I think the American people have moved on past this.
The first time I saw this movie, a big fat guy, I think his name's Bill Barr, was standing up in the front, kind of obscuring what it is I was trying to see.
Kind of Alfred Hitchcock style?
Sort of.
Come on. That's
Mitch
terrible.
McConnell. Dom, I found the quote earlier today. I said Donald Trump he's not interested in helping the American people. And Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, you remember Newt. He's the one that led the impeachment against Bill Clinton for lying about, what, fellatio with an intern. Let me read what Gingrich attributed, or what this reporting attributes him to having said. Former Speaker Newt Gingrich, I read from thehill.com, said in an interview with the New York Times that President Trump has moved away from any focus on legislation and is now instead battling Democrats ahead of his reelection fight in 2020. The longtime Trump ally told the Times that the president was no longer primarily focused on any policy item and was rather in full campaign mode. Here's a quote attributed to Gingrich. I think he doesn't mind if it happens, but it's not his primary focus, Gingrich said of new legislation passing Congress. His primary focus is to so thoroughly define Democrats as the party of the radical left. I think that matters much more to him than any particular bill. Former Senator Rick Santorum agreed with Gingrich's assessment, noting that some Democrats are calling for impeachment proceedings to begin in the House. Such an atmosphere, Santorum argued, made any legislative deals between the Democrats in Congress and the White House impossible. What about the budget deal yesterday? I'm just saying, not impossible. Apparently, deals can be made, but I read on.
No, but this is also a priority. I mean, we're running out of money, by Friday? I mean, this is still some governance. But so what you're telling me, Crudy, is that the president, especially after signing or presumably approving of the budget deal, is just going to wash his hands of any sort of governance and live on the laurels of all the good things he's passed in the last 2 years?
Promises made, promises kept, apparently, Dom. Santorum quoted as saying, I don't see the president at this point doing anything with those guys. Not as long as they're coming after him with impeachment, Santorum told the Times. He's at war. Trump has focused his criticism on 4 freshman Democratic congresswomen. 4 lawmakers, Dom, are Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley. And they have denounced the president's attacks as racist, as did the majority of House lawmakers in a resolution last week.
The Washington Post also catches this. This is Greg Sargent from the Plum Line referring to Newt Gingrich's quote, and here's what he writes. I'm pretty sure Gingrich just basically let it slip that Trump is more interested in attacking Democrats as radical than he is in working on proposals that would lift the fortunes of working class Americans, including the working class whites in his base. In one sense, of course, Gingrich's observation is just obviously true. Trump isn't interested in governing. He plainly derives enjoyment from abusing people, a pleasure that often seems particularly evident when he's directing that abuse at minorities, particularly minority women. Beyond this, it's also obviously true that Trump isn't interested in signing legislation such as a minimum wage hike or an infrastructure package. Remember that infrastructure deal? What happened to that, Crudy? The Times piece digs into the deeper reasons for this. Trump is surrounded by conservatives who are exploiting his disinterest in policy to push a hard-right agenda. The moderates around him, such as Jared Kushner, are more interested in things like criminal justice reform than in populist economic policies. Then there's the fact that the Republican Party opposes such policies. Trump has largely outsourced his economic agenda to the GOP, signing a massive corporate tax cut that lavished enormous benefits on the highest earners. Trump has also gone all in with the GOP drives to get rid of environmental regulations and roll back Obamacare's protections for millions, perhaps out of zeal to destroy his predecessor's legacy. In sum, Trump completely abandoned the economic populism that former trade is an exception, but this is largely appeals to Trump because it allows him to rage at foreign and globalist elites that absurdly claim that he's shaking down foreign countries for terrorists. But Gingrich's quote also captures a deeper truth as well, Crudy. Trump is vulnerable in 2020 because both sides of the Trumpist equation, the plutocracy and the reactionary nationalism, are unpopular. Democrats won the House by campaigning against the GOP on healthcare and taxes, and Trump's hate campaign against immigrants and his immigration cruelties no doubt helped. The Trumpist agenda drove away enormous numbers of suburban and college-educated whites and allowed Democrats to make much smaller inroads with non-college educated and rural whites. Remember, in 2018, the bottom fell out for the GOP, even in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, the blue wall states Trump cracked. A saner healthcare agenda and legislation pitched at the working class probably would help Trump win with both of those constituencies, but they aren't going to happen, which leaves another option for Trump to try to win re-election, to thoroughly define Democrats as the party of the radical left, as Gingrich puts it. That, of course, is what the attacks on the 4 non-white lawmakers is really about. They are meant to scare college-educated whites, particularly women, out of voting Democratic, which seems risky since overt racism and white nationalism could further alienate them and supercharge Trump's working class white base in those blue wall states, making an electoral college victory possible even if Trump loses the national popular vote by a bigger margin, which could actually work. Gingrich's quote, Unpacked basically concedes that Trump would rather spend his time on racist and white nationalist attacks on minority lawmakers than on legislating for that transracial working class Bannon waxed eloquent about, and that for re-election purposes, the former is the substitute for the latter. He doesn't want to do anything, Crudy. This is more Trump, and we're going to get worse the closer we get to the election.
Dominic, I think this country has had more garnered benefit from Shark Week than from Infrastructure Week. You know, I've been watching Shark Week on Net Geo.
Oh, yeah?
Mostly because I know Trump doesn't like the sharks.
He's scared of the sharks. You and Stormy Daniels watching it together, Crudy? You get spanked with a Forbes magazine?
No, I was watching it with the kid. And then I made him watch the Wicked Tuna Show.
And what's that?
It's a show about tuna fishing on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. You know, relative to the Shark Week, it also seems quite interesting.
Fishing on television.
Let's talk more about the
That's a thing.
Hour 2 in this presidency. Come back with us. The happy hour, it's commencing. We know we got a couple of callers holding. We'll get to you next. 844-967-2789. Stick around. The happy hour starts right now.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out The Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Makes you look like an ass is what he does.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Listen to This is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This is Progress on WRRD 1510 AM.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at NewsTalk1510am.com.
The Mueller hearings, 9/11 funding. I'm Ann Cates. The House is getting ready for tomorrow's nationally televised hearings with former special counsel Robert Mueller. Correspondent Caitlin Collins reports President Trump has other plans.
The schedule is pretty wide open based on what our sources have been telling us, which is not what the White House was counting on, because they thought the president was going to have a chance to respond to this hearing last week when he had that rally planned in North Carolina. But now he's got a pretty wide open schedule until he goes to a fundraiser in West Virginia tomorrow night, while his aides are going to be working behind the scenes, we're told, preparing to push back on whatever it is that Robert Mueller says.
The Senate has approved the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund.
The yeas are 97, the nays are 2. The bill is passed.
The only two senators to vote against the bill were Republicans Mike Lee and Rand Paul.
Whether or not when we have new spending programs, no matter how charitable, no matter how needed, when we have new spending programs, whether or not we're going to pay for them.
Passage followed a major push by first responders and comedian Jon Stewart amid a surge in claims from survivors who now face a host of deadly illnesses stemming from their work at Ground Zero. Linda Kenyon, Capitol Hill.
Boris Johnson has won the UK Conservative Party's leadership contest and will become the next Prime Minister. Correspondent Nick Robertson reports Johnson.
He will also need to sort of look to some of the social health care issues in the country in case there's a speedy general election, which people are talking about already.
The Washington Post is reporting that the Federal Trade Commission will allege that Facebook misled users about its privacy practices as part of an expected settlement. Facebook is accused of deceiving consumers about why it needed their phone numbers. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 177 points, the S&P 500 up 20. I'm Ann Cates.
County Executive Chris Avery has declared racism a public health crisis, but he cuts the bus route for mostly black families driven mostly by black drivers.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abele is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abele at 414-278-4338. Tell him you support and transit workers local 998 and ask him why is he making this public health crisis worse.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
Despite new medical guidance, millions of American adults could still be taking baby aspirin to ward off heart disease.
Earlier this year, top cardiologists and the American Heart Association released new heart health guidelines, suggesting that a daily low-dose aspirin is no longer a universally good idea, that it could be unnecessary and maybe even risky for those without a heart condition. But a new study says before those guidelines came out, some 30 million Americans 40 or older with and without heart trouble said they took a daily aspirin, many without a doctor's recommendation. And the researchers at Harvard say it's likely that millions still do. I'm Jan Johnson.
Home sales are on the decline. Sales of existing homes fell 2% last month because of rising prices and a persistent shortage of properties. The median price has climbed to $286,000 nationally. That is an all-time high. I'm Ann Cates.
Do you have
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order in classic corner tavern.
Hey Milwaukee, I'm Sherwin Hughes, host of The Forum from 9 a.m. to noon on WRRD 1510 a.m. Always streaming live on NewsTalk1510am.com.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources yesterday asked 125 municipal wastewater treatment systems, including Milwaukee's, to begin investigating for the presence of what are known as forever chemicals. Technically, the compounds are known for long periods of time. Wisconsin is modeling its detection efforts on those of other states that have already had to deal with chemical contamination, including neighboring states Michigan and Minnesota. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics. And due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we are sliding into the Mueller Eve happy hour.
Woohoo!
The next time we're heard from on the radio, outside of this hour, Dom, will be about 7 a.m., 7 bells in the morning. Setting the alarm, getting up early, doing a little pregame show, a little Mueller time coming early, Dom. The wake and bake edition, I like to think of it as. You and I will be live at 7 a.m. Mueller's testimony scheduled to start. We're burning like half a broadcast day. I'm ticking off my morning host. This better be damn good, Tom.
It's history, Crudy. No matter the result, this is history.
You'll all be listening or watching. It'll be like Al Capone's vault. Whether or not we find anything in the vault, you'll all be watching, please, or listening right here on WRD 1510 AM and Talk 92.7 FM. Dom, we got callers holding. Let's get to them. I believe Lou from Cudahy has been the most patient to date. Currently, Lou, welcome back. What do you got for us today?
Thank you so much, sir. I have the patience of a saint. It's always good to talk to socialists. Hey, Senator Omar, Representative Ilhan Omar, she's up the creek. There was a complaint filed against her by Judicial Watch with the Office of Congressional Ethics. They wanted an investigation for perjury, immigration fraud, marriage fraud, state and local tax fraud, and federal student loan fraud. Holy crapes. This is really bad. It says here this finishes a 3-year investigation both in here in the U.S. and Britain, and she got her taxes amended, saying that she did file with somebody named Hirsi, Hirsi, while she was not married to him, while she was actually married to another man. That's tax fraud. I think she's going to get spanked really, really good.
Lou, that's certainly interesting. So it seems that you're very concerned about people when they lie, right?
Or file false tax returns, perhaps?
Yeah, that would be bad. I don't get to do that. If I do that, I go to prison.
How about the President of the United States? Is it conceivable to you, Lou, that he's something of a tax cheat himself?
We're not talking about him. We're talking about Representative Omar.
We're talking about a freshman congressperson from Minnesota for some unknown reason on the Devil's Advocates radio show. I'd much rather talk about the president, the one who continuously hides his taxes. In fact, the one who sued the Attorney General of the state of New York to block state law that would permit the release of his taxes.
We're talking about members of the squad, and she's a very nasty anti-Semite.
She's a freshman congressperson.
Well, no, Lou,
out of 435.
With all due respect, you brought up the member of the squad, and you brought her up in the context of filing false tax returns. And in the context and the conversation of filing false tax returns, we are now expanding the conversation to include President Trump. Now, if President Trump was found to file false tax returns, Lou, would you think that there would be some...
about her.
Should there be some consequence to that, like there should be perhaps for Ilhan Omar?
Tax fraud, marriage fraud, all this stuff. They even went back and found speeding tickets.
I know, Lou, but now we're talking about President Trump. Would you, whatever you want done with investigations of Representative Omar, would you also then want those same things done for Donald Trump if he was found to be guilty of those kinds of crimes? Listen, hang on, man. That's not going to happen, Lou. See, we're not going to talk over each other. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to respond. Because it's one thing to bring up a topic, and Judicial Watch, that's Mark Levin's group. He does a radio show as well, I believe. And if there's issues, and there have been I've seen some reporting around this from that organization. We'll see what happens. I'm down for justice, my friend. But you cannot bring up illegal, fraudulent tax returns and then take some objection to us pivoting, expanding the conversation to include current and future investigations of your president. This is not a reach of conversation. This is expanding the very topic you brought up on our show.
Now, Dominic, there is a local CBS affiliate in Minnesota reporting Ilhan Omar to repay thousands amid controversy over personal tax returns. This story published in June of 2019. Ilhan Omar finds herself at the center of a controversy about her personal tax returns. The Campaign Finance Board discovered she filed tax returns stating she was married to one man when, in fact, she was married to another. The revelation was part of the investigation into allegations that Omar had misused campaign funds. Omar agreed to repay, wait for it, Dom, $3,500 and pay a $500 fine. But the controversy over her tax filings continue, mostly because the right continues to gin them up, I suspect. When it comes to the issue of filing joint married tax returns with one man while legally married to another, the only statement the Minnesota Congresswoman has made is through a campaign spokesperson. All of Rep. Omar's tax filings are fully compliant with all applicable tax law, the spokesperson said. And below, we've got a little timeline here, Dom. I'll spare the audience. But apparently, she's got some sort of $3,500 complaint, and she paid a $500 fine. I'm sure that's entirely equitable to what Donald Trump did. My understanding from the federal filings of his sister, her judicial filings, she had to disclose her financials. And the New York Times took that. And only through the benefit of the timing of the Kavanaugh hearings was this not a bigger story. But they did a long read on the $400 million or more that Donald Trump shielded from full disclosure to tax authorities.
Defrauded the United States Treasury, let's call it.
And the false corporation they set up to effectively overbill Fred Trump to allow the old man Trump, to transfer dollars to the children, dollars that were really gifts and subject to certain limitations, but to transfer them fraudulently. And it's documented with the federal filings of Judge Trump, Trump's sister. So I certainly think there's enough smear to go around, and I think something to the tune of $400 million in tax avoidance, the inflation and deflation of assets, depending on what bank's asking. I certainly think there's more criminality than $3,500 and a $500 subsequent fine coming Donald Trump's way.
Well, no doubt. And thankfully, we have some Republicans in this world that are now getting concerned about, politicians and their tax filings. This is a good step. Blue, I think his name was. Thank you. We do appreciate it. But here's how I would distinguish it, the difference between the way I think and perhaps the way our caller thinks, is that if Omar did these things, then she should absolutely pay the price. If Donald Trump did these things, he should absolutely pay the price. You see how that works? I don't even care what their politics are, because I'm with you in one regard, Lou. If I can't get away with it, I don't want politicians getting away with it. In that regard, we are all very similar. We want those in power to be held in check and accountable just like the rest of us. Now, it's easy for me to say, okay, Omar, if she did it, she should pay the fine. She should pay any political price that comes along. Why can't you say it? Why is that so difficult, Lou, from Cudahy, for you to say that? 844-967-2789. Let's get one more in. Brock from Horicon, you are up. Thanks for calling. What do you got?
Hey, Brock.
Hey, how's it going? Lou's really going to be upset when he finds out Bernie Sanders passed legislation to save his Social Security back when Obama was still in office. But I digress. Anyhow, I don't know if you can't do it and it's illegal, and there's like a thing called the Constitution. How about we just follow that and we make it even? Now, I don't think you can make it fair because there's too many different variables, but let's just make it even. So let's say, like you're saying, Dom, if jaywalking is illegal for me, jaywalking is illegal for Trump. Let's say if talking to Russians and, committing treason is illegal for me,
right.
And you have documented cases by the FBI and phone calls, which is amazing that a signal that would run through routers and across satellites and, over antennas, you'd be able to trace that. Who knew? But I think the reason the Mueller report is not more of a page-turner among our Republican friends is because as soon as they start turning the pages, you don't have to read very far into it to realize everybody that you thought stood for something is in on it.
Well,
And
ignorance is
you've been
bliss,
for-
Brock. Ignorance is
Yeah.
bliss, because if you dig in and you pay attention, whether you're Lou from Cudahy or Mitch McConnell or Ron Johnson, what you're going to read is going to be very unseemly.
Yep.
It was
Well,
wrong
you know,
when
when
they were doing it. They knew it was wrong. Donald Trump, he flouts the law. He doesn't give a damn about the law. And Republicans that come looking at some freshman congressperson who's one of 435, who's only been at the Congress for what? I mean, it's the month of July. She's only been there 6 months. What
Right,
power
really-
does she really have? And if she's truly a tax cheat, her constituents will send someone else to Congress the next time.
The really interesting part is Lou and her have way more in common than Trump and Lou have in common. And it would probably cause Lou to have a heart attack to realize any amount of truth in that statement. I like what that squad does. I don't always agree with some of the verbiage, but they're regular American people. They're regular people that got to go to Congress and now are sick of waiting. And I don't know how you go on TV and commit illegal discrimination by the letter of the law on the Department of Justice website.
Well, it's the EEOC's website. That's how you get away with it. And, of course, because there is a Department of Justice memo that says you can't indict the sitting president, well, then Lou and all his ilk have plausible deniability. Their guy, he's the good guy. He can't be charged. But Omar, she got a $500 fine, man. Send her straight to hell. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Those four girls, they just stir these Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
They get their undies in a bundle over these women. I like them very much for that quality. Stir in the pot. Come back with us. Always stir in the pot. Devil's Advocates, the happy hour continues. 844-967-2789. More of your calls next.
As soon as my routine audit's finished, I'll release my returns. I'll be very proud to.
That's a great idea. Okay, how do we do that?
I want to release my tax returns, but I can't release it while I'm under an audit.
Wow, that's messed up.
I pay hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes.
To conceal the source of money as by channeling it through an intermediary.
Nobody knows more about taxes than I do.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime. Across Wisconsin, there are 81 right-wing talk radio stations spewing 235 hours a day of conservative ideology every day. And then there's me and my team, the most passionate and diverse radio lineup of political opinion leaders in this nation. We counter propaganda with facts 16 hours every weekday, but now we need your help. It is time to build Talk 1017 in Milwaukee, a 24/7 rapid response platform for Dems, progressives, and reasonable others. A brand new FM signal covering 1.8 million Wisconsinites. I own the license, but I need an accredited investment partner right now to help complete the vision. Call me at the station or email crute@talk927fm.com. That's crute@talk927fm.com. Investments may be subject to an FEC 506C filing.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Listen to This is Progress with me, Sabrina Madison, on WRRD, and join me in a discussion on progress taking shape across Wisconsin. Tune in Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon for This is Progress on WRRD 1510 AM.
the Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. 844-967-2789. That's the phone number you need to call, or you can text it if you don't want to talk on the phone like our pal Jeff. He texts us today, guys, you're not going to get a hypocrite like Lou to care about Trump. Snowflakes like Lou are triggered by the crew. I say, keep them coming. Thank you, Jeff. Keep them coming. Thank you for playing.
I wonder if Lou's going to get up early, set his alarm, and listen to a little Muellertime in the morning.
Learn something.
But he'll have to mute it when the Democrats are asking questions. Right. And only listen when the Republicans are asking the real insightful questions like
the oranges of the investigation.
And whether or not Peter Strzok and Lisa Page had sexual relations.
The lovers from the FBI.
I've got a little more explanation on Ilhan Omar, but let's get back to the phones first. 844-967-2789. Robert from Milwaukee, you're next. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thank you. Your last two callers, I think, really hit it correctly with Lou. He doesn't seem to understand that we really are operating under two sets of rules here. There's the law for common people, and then there's this other group that thinks they're above everything. Yeah. So you look at this administration, you got guys like Elliot Abrams down there stirring the pot. He's in South America. He should really be in jail for Iran-Contra. Or, recently, they're having to vote on raising the debt ceiling to $22 trillion. And you look at that, you say, $3 trillion of it is from a war in Iraq that they lied us into. Is there any consequences? No consequences came out of that. And you get this false narrative in the media where they talk about, well, we can only do one thing at one time. So if someone gets into office, what is the thing they want to do? I think that's a mistake. We should be able to do multiple things, whoever the candidate is, and really go after people. They wasted a lot of time with Barack Obama's administration. They wasted 2 years fooling around with guys like Chuck Grassley on health care. And you look at the Bush administration when they came in, they passed tax cuts through reconciliation. So
yeah.
Democrats need to get a lot smarter in terms of how they wield power when they get it. I mean, it took Nancy Pelosi months to pass a $15 minimum wage. She said she was going to do it in an hour, in 100 hours. So when they get into power, they need to really wield the power. You didn't see Mitch McConnell backing down when Barack Obama had a pick for Supreme Court justice.
No, McConnell's ruthless, Robert. The Republicans are ruthless. So Donald Trump is showing his true colors. He is certainly ruthless.
Yeah, so that really got me this week. And, you see Liz Cheney on the TV defending Trump and his racist attack. And all I could think back to was the war they lied us into and the $3 trillion they defrauded the taxpayer out of it. So Lou and the $3,500, we can write the check. I mean, they just seem to miss the big picture of these conservatives. So
well, I think
that's really kind of all I wanted to say.
Robert, I think you missed the big picture. Halliburton stock price, multiples. Growth by the thousands of percent. Dick Cheney became a very rich man, war profiteering on the very same war he talked us into. They're just displaying their capitalism, Robert.
Yep, or when they bailed out the banks, right? Paulson was, over at Goldman and the other areas. He enriched himself to a ridiculous degree, and at the same time, they had the government picking winners and losers. You're telling me there's no conflict of interest there when he bailed out all of his buddies? It's like, give me a break.
Well, and Robert, nobody did a perp walk. And I think in some small part, the failure to punish the excesses of Wall Street through the crash of the real estate market, I think in some small part that helped to elect Donald Trump because it was a Democratic administration that failed to hold the banksters accountable. And if the Democrats aren't going to do anything about it, there are a subset of the population that thinks, well, at least Donald Trump, he will change things. And Robert, I'll give him credit. The world has changed since Donald Trump became president. Not for the better, but it changed.
Yep. And really with these Justice Democrats, there's 7 of them. They focus on the 4 minority women. And with the chance, send them back. This is stuff right out of the McCarthy era. It's kind of insane. And if the basis is were your parents born here, I think Donald Trump's mother was born in Scotland. So 3 of those 4 women, probably their parents they're more American than he is. So it's really interesting. You know, we don't have camps up on the northern border with Canada. You know, and the idea that, you know, we're spending $750 a day, you know, housing these people. I mean, they could be staying at the Ritz-Carlton, getting a massage. I mean, it's insane the things that are going on in this
They could be staying at Trump Towers, Robert. But let me ask you, though, and I totally hear what you're saying, but my concern is, are you suggesting that when the Dems get in power, they wield power the same way or worse or more efficiently or more effectively than the Republicans? Because I got to be honest, if they're going to start doing it the same way, I mean, I'm not cool when you know, Republicans don't let Supreme Court candidates get voted on any more than it would be for Democrats.
When the Democrats deny a Supreme Court candidate, then you can complain. Until we get even.
But are you endorsing them? Are you endorsing them to do so, Robert?
No. What I'm endorsing is we're pretending like we don't have power. They have the House. How about H.R. 2 that says you can't be a lobbyist and run a government agency? You're defrauding the taxpayer.
How about an impeachment inquiry? Some inquiring minds would want to know.
Robert, you for impeachment?
Right. Absolutely. I think they need to do it and not worry about the political consequences. That was the problem with when Obama took over in the Bush administration left. What they should have done is actually went after those people. These guys come back like a bad penny. They committed crimes. They lied us into a war. And just like the bankers, there were no consequences because they were worried about the political consequences.
Triangulation doesn't work. Robert, thank you so much for listening and calling. Come back. More Devils. 844-967-2789.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Oh, they drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
Our friends over at Madison Liquidators are expanding into a bigger, nicer space just off Pleasant View Road in Middleton to better serve their clients and better display their extensive collection of new and nicer used office furniture. Start online at madisonliquidators.com for their complete collection, or go see Kelly to help make your own office plan. madisonliquidators.com. Tell them you heard them on Talk 92.7 FM.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 AM Milwaukee, Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
Transit worker Local 998 knows that cuts to transit service are cuts to our community.
I would get paid like $7.25 doing the same things I'm doing out here, and I'm getting paid $10.
You know, I'm a disabled veteran, and, you know, this is my only way of getting around at this point.
You know, I got a car at the house, but my mama don't like driving all the time, or she got work and stuff, so I rely on the bus, you feel me?
There is no other way. If the bus wasn't there, I would have to call somebody for a ride, and, you know, I can't really afford to give people gas money for rides, and I don't have a vehicle, so these buses really help me out a lot.
Transit worker Local 998 also know who is responsible for these cuts, and so does the county.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support your community and Transit Workers Local 998.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
From Milwaukee to Madison, state government shapes our lives for better or worse. Let's talk about it. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD, 1510 a.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Members of Milwaukee's Puerto Rican community demonstrated in solidarity with those on the island Monday evening to demand the resignation of Governor Ricardo Rossello. The group gathered at Red Arrow Park downtown, many of them carrying Puerto Rican flags. The governor, who has been embroiled in controversy, is being pressured to resign for his most recent scandal, known as Chatgate, which centers on misogynistic and homophobic text messages that were released to the public. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows around 60 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny with a slight chance of afternoon rain. Highs around 79 in Milwaukee, 83 in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the happy hour. It continues. And I don't know if you've noticed, Don, but our colleagues on Inferior, Righty Whitey Talk Radio, daily now, they're doing an expose of one of the fraud squad. That's what they call it. At least that's what Dan O'Donnell is calling his daily expose.
I mean, Donald Trump literally had to settle a fraud case for Trump University.
Well, he only did that because it was a distraction. The $25 million, that's chump change to a billionaire like Trump, right?
That doesn't take away from the fact that he settled a $25 million fraud case. And the New York Times reported that he and his family defrauded the American Treasury, the U.S. Treasury, when they did these deals to transfer the money from their father's estate to them. But please continue.
Let's not talk about his inauguration, his emoluments violation, the Trump Foundation that, of course, was self-dealing for Trump's benefit. Let's not look at any of those cases.
Of course not.
Let's attack Ilhan Omar. So let me set the record straight. As mentioned, she was investigated for campaign finance violations. Apparently had to pay back $3,500 and was given a $500 fine. And there was some scrutiny of her personal tax filings. And the local CBS in Minnesota reports as thus. Here, Dom, is a timeline of Omar's personal relationship as well as the Campaign Finance Board documents. You better listen close because there's got to be some there.
All right, I'm on it. I'm taking notes.
In early 2000s, Omar and Ahmed Hersey had 2 children but never married. So Omar and Ahmad Hersey, that's his last name, 2 children never married in the eyes of what? The law. In 2009, Omar legally married another man, Ahmed Elmi. In 2011, Omar and Elmi obtained a faith-based divorce, but no legal divorce. In 2012, Omar reconciled with her ex, Hersey, the one she had 2 children with, and the couple had a 3rd child. In 2014 and 15, Omar and Hersey filed joint married returns. The man that she had 3 children with, that she cohabitated with, they were filing joint married returns. In 2016, Omar's attorney and accountants find something needs to be corrected in Omar's filing. In 2017, she files for a divorce from Elmi, and in 2018, Omar legally married Hersey. Omar's staff did not comment when asked about the correction needed in 2016 in Omar's filings and whether or not that was related to her marital status. She effectively had a messy marital status. Had a man, 2 children. They filed jointly as if they were legally married in the eyes of Minnesota, and apparently they weren't. She broke up with the original man, married another man in the eyes of Minnesota, and then divorced the man, but not in the eyes of Minnesota, only in the eyes of her church, and then later had to make a correction on her tax returns. The scandal, Dom. I'm telling you, the scandal.
I can barely keep track of it, actually.
So let me see if I got the end result.
Okay.
She married the man she has 3 children with.
Yes.
And they filed a corrected tax return.
Yes.
God, why is she not in prison now? And let's compare that to the president of the United States, who's got, 5 children by 3 baby mamas that we know about. He paid off a porn star. He paid off a playmate. He directed his fixer to lie to Congress about the same said payoffs. And we've got evidence both from the Trump organization signed by Donald Trump and his son that demonstrate the campaign finance violations made by this president to cover up the affair with the porn star shortly after his wife gave birth to his 5th child by the 3rd woman.
Yeah, Curdy, but he's the president, and you can't indict a sitting president according to DOJ policy. So let's talk more about Omar.
844-967-2789. I mean, Lou, your arguments are ludicrous, sir.
Ludicrous.
See how that works? I like how you picked up on that theme. Pizza the Box, welcome back.
Hey, man, you guys remember Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, right?
Yeah, he did some
prison,
time.
I believe.
And he also
What, did
appeared
he
on The
try to-
Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump.
Did he, try to sell a Senate seat for too cheap? Because if I remember right, it was like he was trying to extort $50,000 to get the inside track on the Obama Senate seat. Wow, Trump hasn't done anything worse than that, has he? I mean, this is outrageous. What is that, 12 years ago? So there you go with your Ron Johnson. We weren't having these problems 12 years ago with these politicians. We'd throw them in prison. It's, 4 governors in a row from Illinois, I think Brian told me yesterday.
Yeah, it was quite a few.
What's going on, America? Yeah. So, I think we should make up, Taba hats and call it Take America Back Again, and start working a narrative like that, because this guy's, we've been watching it for how long now, and tomorrow nothing's going to happen out of this, you guys.
Oh,
I mean,
come on,
really?
man! I have faith, Pizza Box. Come on,
Lots and lots of sound bites.
gonna-
That's all that I need to happen. Lots and lots of sound bites encapsulated for the
When you guys
American
get up-
viewing public.
When you get up Thursday morning, Trump will still be the president, and pot's still illegal in Wisconsin. What a drag, huh?
Yeah, but it's going to be legal in Illinois by January 1st, so I'm just, I'm already planning my road trips, my New Year's road trips, Michael.
And Trump will still be in the White House, presumably, but hopefully maybe something comes out. Maybe some minds are changed. Some people are enlightened. I mean, there are Trump supporters. We've seen them on the television, Mike, that were shocked to hear that. Wait, what? What do you mean? I mean,
it's not a full exoneration?
Right, full exoneration. Entirely nothing to see. No collusion. No conspiracy. No obstruction of justice, because that's all they've been told. And now, perhaps, they're going to hear from someone, although Trump certainly doesn't respect it. He's a conservative ex-Marine, ex-FBI chief, federal investigator who did this report, Mueller. And maybe his testimony will sway some people. Don't you think?
Well, I'm thinking that AG Barr, and along with Gates and Jordan and the clowns like that, I think they're just they're not going to let us see everything. I mean, they've already pressured him, right? They're already and with Mueller, who knows, man? I hope he gets kicked off and just kicks their asses tomorrow. Right. That's what I hope.
Right. We have no idea what's going to happen. He's already got an opening statement. He's already asking for his former chief of staff to be his attorney, and the DOJ doesn't know what he's going to say. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Yes, no doubt, it could be Al Capone's vault with Geraldo. but it could be something so much more.
That former Marine, we might find out Mueller ordered the code red, man. That's what we need. You can't handle the truth. Pizza Box, appreciate the call. We're going to keep moving down the phones. 844-967-2789. Next up, Jake from Milwaukee. Welcome back, Jake.
Hi. So my prediction for tomorrow is that we're going to get not much of anything, although it'll get some exposure for what he said. But I don't think Mueller's – I'm sorry, but this is really bad at this point, but how can I think of it any other way? But Mueller is a lifelong Republican. And at this point, I think he wants to save the Republican Party over getting rid of Trump.
I don't agree with you. Jake, I think that is a man of integrity, and he might feel like from his law and order background that he's got to, follow the rules of the road. But in no way, shape, or form do I believe that Robert Mueller believes in the preservation of the Republican Party at the expense of his country. No Marine Corps, nobody that served his country in the Marine Corps would feel that way. I mean, that's a patriot there. Robert Mueller is a patriot. He may not say what I want him to say, man, but it's not out of preservation of Donald Trump's pumpkin spice ass.
I disagree with you, man. The only way he's going to prove it to me is if he stands up and he's like, this is what has to happen. Someone needs to ask him, or maybe he can say it in a statement and say, if he was not the president of the United States, would you, Robert Mueller, indict him for obstruction of justice, blah, blah, blah. And if he says yes, then you are absolutely right, Crude. But if he doesn't respond and gives a political answer, then I am correct.
You want answers?
Because that's what he needs to do. Yes, I want answers.
You can't handle the truth, Jake. Here's the only answer I need from you, little buddy, Jake. Here's my question of you. Are you going to get up early and tune in to Dom and Crude's Wake and Bake Muellertime special starting at 7 a.m. Central Time right here on 1510 and Talk 92.7?
I will, but
yes.
My baked stuff will have to be probably like bagels or something. Oh, no, those are boiled. Anyways, it's close enough, right? So
close enough. We'll take it, Jake. Thanks, man. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be a political party like none other. It's history in the making, and we will be front row.
Well, Jake, I'm not saying you got to be baked, but somebody on the panel certainly will be.
844-967-2789. Give us a call. We got one more segment left, and I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I got plenty to talk about, Tom. I always got something to say. And you better get up early. You better set your alarm. Tomorrow morning, live Mueller testimony, the special counsel. Whether you think it's going to be a really big deal or whether you think it's going to be a big bust, whether you think the Democrats are RD 1510 a.m. and Talk 92.7. If Dom and I are getting up early, the least you could do is listen, please. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Your phone calls are next. Still time for you at 844-967-2789.
I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom.
All they do is complain.
I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself.
You can leave.
I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way.
You can leave right now.
You ever served in an infantry unit, son?
Cadet Bone Spurs.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 a.m. Milwaukee. Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tune in early at 7. It's Muellertime.
Transit worker Local 998 knows that cuts to transit service are cuts to our community.
I will get paid like $7.25 doing the same things I'm doing out here, and I'm getting paid $10.
You know, I'm a disabled veteran, and, you know, this is my only way of getting around at this point.
No, I got a car at the house, but my mama don't like driving all the time, or she got work and stuff, so I rely on the bus, you feel me?
There is no other way. If the bus wasn't there, I would have to call somebody for a ride, and, you know, I can't really afford to give people gas money for rides, and I don't have a vehicle, so these buses really help me out a lot.
Transit Worker Local 998 also know who is responsible for these cuts, and so does the county.
Milwaukee knows that Chris Abley is not on our side. Milwaukee has learned that pretty clearly, and he's not going to be protecting the poor of this city or the working class of this city, and we know that.
Call Chris Abley at 414-278-4338 and tell him you support your community and Transit Workers Local 998.
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamsters Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Gun violence, immigration, healthcare, reproductive rights, issues that affect you every day. That's my business. I'm State Representative Jocasta Zamaripa. Join me for the Jocasta Show, Mondays at 6 p.m. on WRRD, 1510 a.m.
Charged, never convicted. Dom and Kroot are the devil's advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, do it right now at 844-967-2789.
Dominic, let's get back to the phones. Bill from Oconomowoc. He's next. Bill, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates. What do you got today?
Hey, great afternoon. So I think we're dealing with the Republicans as we move forward. First of all, Muellertime isn't going to be that exciting. We know what's going to happen. We're going to be proved that he committed acts of treason. Don't deny it. We'll move past that. You know that. You just know that's going to happen tomorrow. Here's another thing I'd like to ask you.
Oh, you're a glass half-filled guy. Bill, be an optimist.
Okay. All right. I'll be an optimist. But let me ask you a serious question.
Yes, sir.
You remember, I know you guys do, the IRS scandal, right? You remember that, right?
Well, the IRS scandal, if you mean that they tried to enforce IRS guidelines on what? Politicking charitable 501c3s.
Right. Okay, let me develop a point on that.
Excellent.
When they were doing that, Karl Rove, I don't know if it's Karl Rove, it might have been Karl Rove, he pushed back very hard. The reason he pushed back is they were getting so close to exposing what was really going on. They had to have a huge pushback. They do that all the time. They're going to do that tomorrow again. There'll be a huge pushback and another scandal by Hillary. We have to anticipate what these people do before they do it. We have to call Trump for what he is. He's a treasonous, molesting, tax evading crook that's masquerading as a president. We can't call him anything less than that, and we can't run from the truth. When we face our opposition, we have to do it calmly. We can't scream and shout. We can't raise our voice. We got to stay calm. Take Michelle Obama's advice. Stay above it. I believe we can beat these idiots because they're running out of places to hide.
Well, the only part I disagree with you, Bill, is that I can't rant at them. I mean, when they go low, I like to kick them right in the nards.
Well, I don't blame you either. I do the same thing, but I've learned I've got a lot more because I deal with a lot of the mega hat people. I deal with
Bill, you cannot possibly deal with more conservatives than Dom and I do.
Bill, let me ask you, though. I mean, do you think that the mega hat wearer and the Trumpsters, do you think that they are informed whatsoever about the obstruction of justice charges in the Mueller report or the conspiracy with the Russians? Do you have any confidence that they are versed in the facts, at least as we know them?
No, absolutely not. They don't want the facts. They don't need the facts. They're told the facts. They're told what to say, and they repeat it. I deal with these people every single day of my life. I call conservative talk. Dan O'Donnell will no longer let me come on the air, period, because he runs out of places to hide. And when they run out of places to hide, then they're done dealing with you. They don't want to deal with you. But I've learned by example, if you stay calm, if you call them what they are, and say we have to get this taken care of, and they're going to give you all kinds of little sideways and moves and juke you this way and that, like a running back in the backfield. But if we stand there and just tackle them head on, with not anger, with not screaming at them, nice and calm, and say, look, you guys are crooks. You're going to have to admit it. You just got to. There's no way around it. You quit hiding. You run out of shield. There's nothing to hide behind. That IRS scandal was something I think we should have pushed back right away and say, you know what? We're getting too close. They're nervous. They're scared. The Citizens United had been a legal way to launder money. And we, every time we get close, they throw up a smoke screen. Expect the smoke screen tomorrow because it's coming. I guarantee you it's coming. But expect it, and if we learn to be a step ahead of these people, they're done.
Well,
they're
excellent point, Bill, but I'm still waiting for the outcome of what? Al Gore's election against George W. Bush? I'm still waiting for the Florida recount. I'm still waiting for him to get it right. I have no faith in the electoral system at this point.
Thanks for the call, Bill. I think you make some good points.
At least not the court's ability to enforce a fair and just outcome.
But if you're dealing with people that do not want to deal with facts and truth and common sense, that are willfully ignorant to the circumstances of which they are arguing, I don't think at some point you got to stop talking to them. You know, you cannot engage with people and hope to have civil conversations, and we endeavor to do that here, but you can't do it with people. I do. We, the royal we, endeavor to do that, but you can't do it with people who refuse to open up their minds to the possibility that Trump is a racist, corrupt, treasonous bastard. And I'm not just saying that because he's a Republican. I'm saying that based on the facts that I understand them to be in the Mueller report. I base that based on my experience with human nature. I mean, you get a feel for people, right? How can you not at least open up to the idea that, wow, this guy may have done some really, really bad things. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get a Coke distributor to drink Pepsi. If they're on the payroll, if they are of the mouthpieces of the right, Dan O'Donnell's never going to change his mind so long as he cashes that check from that media organization. He gets paid to do that. He doesn't get paid to change his mind.
Well, Dom, I already explained it to the people way back in hour one. Donald Trump's presidency is political meth. He's methamphetamines for the Trumpsters, Dom. They love the rush. They love when he trolls the libtards, and they don't care if his policies are inhumane. I'd like to make that point briefly.
You two suck at peddling meth.
The Hill.com reports conservative commentator Kimberly Klacik defended the Trump administration's approach to immigration, arguing President Trump hasn't lost his base over the issue because a moral stance on immigration doesn't ultimately win elections. This is what the conservatives say. The moral stance is great, but it doesn't win elections, Klacik told the Hill TV's Crystal Ball on The Rising. Right now you have President Trump, who hasn't lost any of his base. She added, let's face it, this is not a big deal for us. Klacik was responding to NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll released Monday. The poll raised two issues that received widespread support amongst 2020 hopefuls in the first Democratic primary debate. Let's not forget the next debate coming up next Tuesday and Wednesday, live on these fine radio stations. But I read on. According to the poll, 66% of Americans said decriminalizing illegal border crossings was a bad idea, compared to just 27% who supported the idea. The poll also found that a majority of voters were not in favor of providing national health care that would cover all Americans, including undocumented immigrants. Klacik said she wasn't surprised by the results, saying the poll speaks volumes about the views of the American people. It shows me we aren't as progressive as they think we are, she said in reference to the poll. They don't care about the bad optics. Trump's not losing any support just because he's got children living in squalor, stripped from their parents, being held illegally, and he's got Stephen Miller advocating for a zero refugee policy, a zero immigration policy. That's what comes next, Tom. Or at least that's what Goebbels of the Trump administration.
I mean,
Stephen
certainly
Miller
we
is
have to
advocating for?
accept then that, there are certain people, our neighbors in this country, our neighbors, our family members, our friends, our exes, whatever the case may be, there are certain people in this country that are totally fine with that strategy.
President. And perhaps they're single-issue evangelicals. They just hate abortion enough. Anything else is permissible as long as you give them the specter of banning abortion or hating on the gays. Because every other bad behavior is acceptable to guys like Lou, guys like Gary, and the broader conservative, quote-unquote, Trump-publican electorate. They're okay. They don't care if he goes on Fifth Avenue and shoots a man. He's not going to lose any support. So let's stop pretending like we can, take a couple of the Trump supporters and convert them over to Kamala Harris supporters or Bernie Sanders supporters. I mean, hell, Lindsey Graham, in defense of his racist president, what was his defense? The Democrats are communists. Race baiting, well, that's not acceptable, but red baiting, oh, that's all good. I thought we went through that once. You remember the McCarthy hearings? Can't wait for the Mueller hearing tomorrow morning.
We got some beer in the
testimony.
We got beer in the fridge, Crudy.
Beer in the fridge. It'll be a little early for day drinking, but smoking never bothered anyone before 8. Tune in 7 a.m. The Wake and Bake Muellertime with Tom and Cruth, the Devil's Advocates. I don't care if it's exciting. You better listen live right here. WRD 1510 a.m. Talk 92.7. Get up early tomorrow morning. It's Muellertime.
It goes on for years and years. No collusion, no obstruction. Oh, that's not good enough. Let's go more. $40 million. Interview 500 people. They got nothing.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
I don't think Jesus would be very happy with Donald Trump one bit at all.
Yes, science. You can leave right now.
Muellertime comes early. You better set your alarm. WRD 1510 a.m. Milwaukee. Talk 92.7 FM Madison coverage begins at 7 a.m. with live bell-to-bell congressional testimony by special counsel